Okay, we've already just started. I'm running a little late because Nintendo said that you're not allowed to restream the Direct. So I'm talking to a blank screen right now, and what I'm going to do is that when I upload the archives, the VOD to YouTube, I'm just going to edit in the Direct over this black screen. I was going to put some text there, then the Direct started way too quickly, so I'm just kind of thrown right into it right now. Oh, I'm a bit all over the place. I haven't had time to... I was gonna go up earlier and talk about what I'm expecting to see, but we don't have time for that. So if you're watching this live, which you're probably not, expect a whole bunch of awkward silence, and I'm sorry, but there's nothing I can do. Blame Nintendo for being a bunch of old farts about it.
I hope that each of you watching this Nintendo Direct will be able to find a game that suits your personal tastes.
Today, we have news on upcoming Nintendo Switch games, and we'll be focusing on a selection of games releasing this year.
So I'm not including the audio from the stream either, just to be extra safe, so this is just going to be very quiet and awkward. For anyone watching this live. Oh, we got a Smash reveal. I think. Not sure who this is, but I'm sure someone's already figured it. Oh, Tekken. Okay, cool. Don't know much about 3D. I don't have a lot of experience with like 3D fighting games, to be honest. Much more of my experience with fighting games is more like Street Fighter, MVC, or, you know, Smash. So, you know, to some people this is going to be really fucking cool. It's basically just like how they opened the last stream I did for Nintendo with the hero from Dragon Quest. I was like, you know, I'm not familiar with this series, but that's really cool. That's basically how I feel about this as well. Maybe they'll reveal 2 characters at once in this one. Maybe they won't. I don't know. Also, stop killing everyone! Oh my god! He's just murdering the entire cast. They're gonna update the game and just delete every character except for him. There's just gonna be 1 character in Smash from now on. You just delete the whole game. Just replace it with a... Whoa. Okay, everything just flashed on my screen. I don't know what's happening. My computer's been weird. Hold on. I don't think this is... I think this is on my end and not Nintendo. Let's try that again. Oh my god, I've got an ad now. Oh god. Wait, why am I getting... Okay. Ads for a fucking university. Oh boy. Okay, we're back. Hopefully I get this all synced up properly in the VOD.
Hello, I'm Masahiro Sakurai from Sora Limited and the director of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate game. Kazuya Mishima from the fighting game series Tekken will join the battle. Surprise! I'll go over the details at a later date, so please sit tight. For today, though, we've prepared...
Price is right. I don't think that's really a question that anyone was... a character that anyone was asking for, but...
take a look.
Still gonna be one that a lot of people will be excited for. Or maybe I just feel like no one's asking for it because I wasn't, I guess. Because... I don't know. I'm not really paying attention to the moves on screen right now because I'm trying to set up some text. Just throw that on there real quick for the stream. In case someone shows up and wondering what's going on. There's your answer.
This feels like Tekken. No, it's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'll talk about the fighter more in a future presentation. We still have to record it first, actually. The air date is shown below. Please stay tuned.
I guess it's good for him that he's back in the office, though, you know, not recording from home.
Mr. Sakurai.
Or maybe it's not good, I don't know, depends. Depends on how you feel about it. Game development's something you can do remotely, much more easily than some jobs, I guess.
Please look forward to seeing how Kazuya, who has experienced many harsh battles across the Tekken series,
But I
will fight
figured
in
that,
this
like,
game.
COVID's getting a lot worse in Japan, supposedly,
Let's
because, like, the
continue with our
Olympics
first
and
batch of
people asking for
Nintendo
that to be
Switch
cancelled.
headlines.
But that looked like it was just him there, so who knows if it was recorded way in advance or just recorded that one tiny little bit with just him. This is nice. That Life is Strange in 2D? Okay. Why wasn't this at the Square conference? Keep calling them conferences when they're not conferences. Oh, they're just coming to the Switch. That's all it is. Okay. They just did a nice little animation for this trailer. That's neat. I'll probably still end up getting them on PlayStation or PC or something. The Switch is better for like Nintendo exclusive stuff or for like very 2D games, like indie games and things like that. If it benefits from the extra horsepower, I probably don't get it on Switch. But if it benefits more from the portability, or if like the power of the system doesn't really make much of a difference, like for a lot of 2D games, I'd a lot of the time get it on Switch instead.
There's something for everyone.
And like motion
Nintendo
control
Switch
implementation can have something to do with that as well.
You are
Oh, this is coming to Switch too.
Leading the
Okay.
legendary band of heroes for hire in
We're
this thrilling
we can't get away from Marvel.
jump on a wild ride
20 minutes of it on the other thing, and we
overwhelm
still get more of it
opponents
here.
with Star-Lord's daring combat style and encounter iconic and original Marvel characters. You'll call the shots for the unpredictable Guardians as you face.
Though I have a feeling
threats
this
in the
segment is going to be
galaxy.
about as short,
You
or
got
not
this.
much shorter than it should have been in the Square thing.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy blasts onto Nintendo Switch October 26th. Worms everywhere. In this
Oh, I heard
real-time
about
arena-based
this.
shooter,
This has
you'll
been out
push
for a
your
while,
invertebrate
hasn't it?
opponents in 32
Maybe it was
player
like a beta or an
cross-platform
early access or
combat,
something.
play in daily challenges, battle modes, and seasonal events to worm your way up the
Because my
ranks.
first reaction to seeing a Worms
Plus,
game like this
Passport Bear
was
outfit exclusive to the Nintendo
that
Switch
it's a
version.
terrible idea, because
Available
Worms is
for
like a
free
turn-based strategy
weeks
game,
after
and they're trying to turn it
launch.
into like an
Main
action
event,
game. It
Spaceport Showdown
seemed like they were
launches
like
with Worms Rumble, wriggling onto Nintendo Switch
chasing trends or like missing the point of what Worms is really all about, but apparently it's really good from people who actually played it, so that's good.
The fantastical
Pleasant
realm of
surprise.
Orcanon awaits. As you explore the
That's not
thrilling
Dragon's
and
Crown.
cryptic world, you'll customize a team of demigods and unleash devastating attacks and captivating turn-based combat.
I don't know why the art style reminded me of that.
Astria Ascending.
There's not enough boobs for it to be Dragon's Crown. Could be the same devs. I have no idea what that was.
Return to the funny, charming, and quirky world of 2 Point County.
I love that
In
they're
the
putting
wholesome
Sonic in the
management sim
hospital
2 Point
version of this as well.
You'll build and run your very own university the way
It's
you
so
want.
out of place and goofy
Lots of
looking. It's the
creative tools
best.
are at your disposal to make the school yours and take your educational empire to the next level. Enrollment for 2 Point
I like
Campus
simi
starts
stuff,
on
like
Nintendo
like
Switch
this sort of
next
simulation, but I haven't played very many of them. Like I really like the movies and
A beloved
like City
series
Skylines,
rolls into
but-
its 20th anniversary
oh
this
yes,
year.
I was hoping this would be here. There were like leaks or something about this on Twitter. People were comparing screenshots and saying those levels look a lot like a level from Monkey Ball 1 or 2. So this could be remakes of 1 and 2, or it could be like an original game, or like a mishmash, or... Okay, there's 1 and 2. And is it just 1 and 2 in Deluxe remade in the style... and no, it wouldn't be all of them. That's just showing the series history. Yeah, that's another old... That's... I definitely recognize those super thin platforms. Like the guitar string shape. Oh, people have been... Like, first thing Banana Blitz was announced to get a remaster, I just saw people, like, In like, why doesn't 1 and 2 get one instead? Those are so much better than Banana Blitz. I think Banana Blitz needed it more to get away from the motion controls that kind of ruined that game in some ways. But yeah, they're finally doing it. They're remaking Monkey Ball 1 and 2. So there you go. You get what you want, guys. I'll probably pick that up.
It's a superstar collection of Mario Party boards and minigames.
Oh, okay. So this is... Oh, nice! They're remaking boards from the old games. Because they did something like this on the 3DS, but it was... People complained because it was just mini games only and not the boards. But now they're actually bringing back the old boards. That's nice.
Connect blocks.
As well as the old mini games.
In hilarious over-the-top mini games.
So I rented the N64 ones a lot as a kid.
With 100 mini games from the Mario Party series,
but I haven't kept up with the series since then. There's a lot of them, and I don't have anyone to play them with, you know? I have random friends over on occasion when I happen to have rented one as a kid on N64, but that's...
You can randomly match with other partygoers worldwide.
I haven't had many opportunities to play like the newer ones with anyone, so I kind of... 4 was the newest one I actually played.
Stickers are also available to communicate with others. It's time to party!
I hope this has the online play that they added to Super Mario Party. It probably does.
Pre-orders begin today on Nintendo eShop.
Or I don't know if that's like friends only or not, because if there was some kind of like matchmaking system or something, maybe I'd consider picking it up.
To say one thing. Currently, we're working hard on the latest game in the Metroid Prime series, Metroid Prime.
Yeah, they're not going to show anything. I wasn't expecting them to.
But today, we'd like to introduce another new entry in the Metroid.
Another Metroid game! Ooh, nice! Gonna be 2D. Ooh. It kind of looks like the fusion suit. 5! Oh, nice! Because Super Metroid's called like Metroid 3 in game, but not on the actual proper title of Super Metroid, and then Fusion is called 4. They're finally moving the series on instead of doing like prequels and stuff. That's really cool. If this is 2D, it looks like it's a 2D game. If it is, it might be by the guys that did the Metroid 2 remake on 3DS. Kinda give me that vibe. I couldn't tell you exactly why. I hope it is, because that was a damn good remake. AM2, yeah, that looks fantastic. Like, this is the Metroid game that, like, really die-hard Metroid fans. Like, not me as much. I've played more, like, indie Metroidvanias and only beaten a few of them, but Metroid Dread. Oh my god, that's the one that was teased in, like, Prime 3 as an Easter egg that was gonna be on the DS. That game was... That was a cancelled DS game, and they're bringing the name back. That's really cool. That is such a cool callback. Maybe this is what that game was always meant to be? Or maybe they're just using the name. I don't know, because we know so little about what that project was going to be. Oh, that's fucking rad. Oh, I've got to finish more Metroid games. Metroid is a series that I've always thought is really cool, but just... I get lost in them really easy. I'm clueless, and I have, like, zero sense of direction in Metroid. For some reasons... Other Metroidvanias like Ori or Dust and Elysian Tale, I guess they're just the levels are designed a bit differently or something. It's just harder for me to get lost in those and get confused. So I don't end up like reaching a point where like I really enjoy it and then I get to a dead end and I don't know what to do and I give up. That doesn't happen for me so much in other Metroid. It's gonna release that already? That soon? That's August. Oh my god. Wow!
The trailer for the first new 2D Metroid game in roughly 19 years.
Oh my god!
The brand new Metroid Dread game. As the name Dread implies, this is a Metroid game with a new feel.
I was almost considering just not streaming this direct at all because you can't put it on stream.
October 8th, so
I'm glad I streamed it anyway, just to get these reactions recorded and everything. Oh, I'm probably gonna get that. Oh, maybe not. I do already have the Smash Samus amiibo, I think.
Let's move on to more Nintendo Switch headlines.
Oh my god! Is my computer doing this again for us? Freaking out again. To refresh the video again. Please don't play another ad. Just Dance. Okay. No ad. Good. Didn't miss anything super important. Oh, God. Oh, right. I'm muted. I forgot. I was going to say that there's going to be a big VOD mute problem, but you're not, like, allowed to... I haven't muted to begin with on the stream. I completely forgot. I haven't been looking at Twitter at all.
The arcade smash hit Cruisin' Blast is speeding.
Oh, there's a new Cruisin' game? Since when was that?
Blast your way
Still
through
haven't
nearly
played the
30
N64
over-the-top
ones.
tracks.
But that's really cool. That's like,
Can race together, so pick your
I mean,
favorite
the
vehicle and hit
Cruisin'
road.
USA is like a really big part of N64's history because it came out as an
Cruisin'
arcade
Blast
game that
launches as a console exclusive
used
on Nintendo
like
Switch
the
this
similar
fall.
hardware. It had the like
It's
coming
the
soon
ultimate
to
Dragon Ball Z
like
experience.
the Ultra 64 thing in the beginning, like Killer Instinct did in arcades. And this is Kakarot. That's why I didn't react to that. That's not a surprise. Just another port. Which is cool for people that want to play that on the Switch. I haven't played it at all because I gotta watch more of the show first. Like 20-something episodes in. And to Kai as well, so I don't know what that translates to in Z, but... Dragon Ball's pretty cool. There's a lot of Dragon Ball games, and most of them are just retelling the story of like the first few seasons of the show. Well, I don't know if seasons is even the right word for it, but... Only this game's okay. I don't know, I heard mixed things about it. Like Fighters, which just blew up in popularity, and it deserves it. That style is off the charts, and I'm sure it's a fun,
Grab a
like
golf
well-designed
club
fighting
and
game
get
too.
ready to tee off.
Another game in a series that I haven't played enough of
Mario Golf
these.
Super Rush
There's
game
too many of
launches
them.
soon.
Like, I really want to buy this, but I also really want to play the ones I've already got first.
Standard golf. Take your time to
Which
read
include,
winning
by the ones I've already
terrain
got, I mean just all of the Camelot golf games. So I've got a few Everybody's Golf games as well. The earlier ones. I've got the PS1, first PS1 one, and I've got the first PSP one.
Speed golf. Smack your
Yeah,
ball
golf
and
games are
chase
fun.
after it. Be the first to get
Just
your
like
ball in the
casually,
hole.
like I just play a little bits of them here and there.
Rivals with special dashes and special shots.
And this is really putting a new unique spin on it with the whole speed golf mode. Very, you know, very Mario Kart, very arcadey. I really like
Get
that.
out over 9 flag-marked holes in an obstacle-filled arena.
Oh, okay.
Capture 3 flags to win.
That is really Mario
Golf
Kart.
adventure.
the
Go from rookie to
Oh.
pro with your Mii character.
Oh, it's like the Game Boy Advance
Golfing
ones with the
challenges that win
RPG
amazing
story mode stuff. Boss,
And here's
what?
some news. Free updates are
Oh,
planned for
and that's
future
the
release,
new Donk
including
course. That's
additional
cool.
courses and playable characters.
That's not even like, I love how it doesn't even look like a golf course. They're just knocking a ball around in the middle of the city streets. That's great.
In Mario Golf Super Rush, swinging
That's so
onto the
silly.
Nintendo Switch system June 25th. Pre-orders are available now on Nintendo eShop. Ready for the ride of a lifetime?
Monster Hunter Stories 2. I did watch the Capcom
Welcome to the
thing.
vast and vibrant world of Monster
So like
Hunter.
Monster Hunter's not a series I'm super familiar with. But this isn't, this looks like an RPG or something. Like I didn't know there was a Stories 1, let alone a Stories 2, and this is, yeah, this is very different from Monster Hunter. But it looks more like Xenoblade, but you know, I love Xenoblade, so...
Then use them to craft items for your journey.
I mean, I'll probably try out a regular Monster Hunter before I try this. Or just finish Xenoblade 2, I still haven't done that.
Some are docile, but others
And this
may
looks a bit
suddenly
more up my
ambush.
alley than regular Monster Hunter does, honestly.
To fight, you'll team up with your Monstie and use weapons and skills to overwhelm enemy monsters in turn-based battles. Win, and you'll be rewarded with their materials, which can be forged into new weapons and armor. Hey, is that an egg? You might be able to hatch a new
Egg.
Monstie. Incredibly powerful Monsties can also hatch from rare eggs. Need more traveling buddies? Join up with friends for co-op multiplayer quests and battles. Buckle up, Ryder. It's going to be a real monster of an adventure. Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin soars onto Nintendo Switch July 9th. You can play the free demo on June 25th and carry over your save data to the full game.
It's always nice when demos do that.
Here's a new game from the
WarioWare.
of a certain company.
One game in Wario.
Did you miss
Oh
me?
god. Oh god, he's speaking full sentences. Nice. It's not often enough Charles Martinet gets a chance to do that.
It's finally ready.
I mean, in character, obviously.
Company. Check it out. You get to control me. Time to do this. Look at me go.
Isn't that kind of
Check out
limiting in terms of the possibilities for minigame design if they all have to involve you directly controlling a character like that?
Not bad. Use the spinning.
I suppose it's good that, like, for it to have its own theme, like for the game to have its own theme, its own concept, instead of just, oh, and different characters kind of play it differently. That's cool, because you can, like, play the same minigame, but it's totally different depending on which character you play. Oh.
So play nice.
Okay, yeah, now I'm starting to see the appeal of it. It's more,
Not nice.
it's definitely got more of its own thing, while still staying true to what WarioWare is.
Ready for some micro game.
Because I was just about to say that, like, without the characters,
The WarioWare Get It Together game.
without the characters being on screen during the minigames like that, without that more newer control scheme, it'd just be like the same as like the GBA ones. Like, what makes this one different? And like, I guess all the different characters' abilities and replaying minigames and co-op and all that stuff is new, so that's cool.
In the latest installment of this series, there are new microgames that let you control Wario at his
And there
level.
is still, again, there's a few older ones I haven't played yet.
Co-op mode, which greatly expands the gameplay.
I played Smooth Moves in the original GBA one, those are really good.
Stay tuned.
It sucks that you lose tracking on the Wii remote so easily in Smooth Moves when you're playing with multiplayer, and just handing around one controller. Oh, Shin Megami Tensei.
As a high school student living
I
in
love
Tokyo,
Persona. I don't know shit about
life is
mainline Shin Megami Tensei. But I want to, you know. Nocturne came out and got a remaster. That'd be a good chance too, but I didn't because I got too many games. Ah!
into a different dimension.
There's too many games! Even amongst long RPGs. Long anime RPGs. I've got Xenoblade still, I've got Persona spin-off stuff, like Q2 to finish.
Another Tokyo exists. A post-apocalyptic world where angels and demons
I need to look
reside.
into, like, how actually connected story-wise the mainline games are. Like, if I could just jump straight into Nocturne and
Fused with the
not be confused. I don't know enough about the series to know if it works like that or not, like it does with Persona.
What lies
Well, you know, the
ahead
main
in this
numbered ones.
alternate realm? The world
This
is
game
now
looks really cool.
transformed into a sprawling, demon-infested wasteland. Though friendly demons do exist here, many are hostile and will attempt to destroy you. Harness your newfound powers to fight demons using a command-based system. Finding their weak point is key. By targeting it, the number of consecutive actions you can perform in a combo will increase.
I mean, that seems pretty similar to Persona
The
already.
demons are formidable opponents,
I know
may be able to
Persona
recruit
is
them in
technically the spin-off of
negotiations.
this,
which begin when you open a conversation.
but I guess I
with
just
them.
don't know enough about this sort of stuff to know what really makes them different besides, I guess, the high school part of it would be it now that I think about it.
If a negotiation is successful,
Like, Shin Megami Tensei is probably more of a regular JRPG, and then Persona's like, you're balancing JRPG stuff
in
with
some
the
cases,
slice of life high school social link stuff.
they may feel motivated.
So this probably doesn't have that, but, you know, does it have something else in place of that that makes
Demons
it
that do join will fight
like,
alongside you
different?
and grow stronger.
other than just not having something that the
Using
spin-off
demon
also has?
allies, another demon can be created. The newly fused demon's innate abilities will vary, granting you a powerful ally, customized to your needs and playstyle.
I'm sure there are probably a lot more differences between
Challenge the many demons
mainline SNT
roaming
and
this
Persona. I just, you know, I don't know what they are
post-apocalyptic
yet.
world by harnessing the power of your own.
Like, that 4-action
What
thing
destiny will you choose?
is a bit low, like having a combo with multiple moves is a bit different, but you still have like the once more mechanic in Persona. That's like a little bit like that. It's just not
Pre-orders
exactly
for
the same.
Physical version begin June 21st.
That was the latest trailer for Shin Megami Tensei 5 from Atlas. This is the newest game in the series. Please look forward to future updates. Let's see a few more Nintendo Switch headlines.
I just clicked in real life to see Danganronpa? I just clicked in real life to sync up the video I'm going to edit into the YouTube VOD. I don't know if the click actually... Like, I've been looking for a moment to, like, clap or clip or something to, like, sync up my voice with the video that I'm going to edit in. That could...
3 games in the deadly Danganronpa.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought. It's just a collection of the games that I already have. But why has it got different names? An anniversary edition. And is in the subtitle for each of them. They must have changed something, right?
Life and death. Unfortunately, the only way out of the school and
all of these games are amazing. Please play them. I should play World's End Club one of these days too. Because that's either coming out soon or came out recently-ish on you know, on platforms that aren't Apple Arcade.
They probably moved the body there.
Use the evidence you've
But the
gathered
early version when it first launched on Apple Arcade was apparently not great, but they've updated it and added the rest of the story and improved it since then. But that's I mean, that's just what I've heard.
Are you okay?
It's the Me-Man. There he is.
Plus, the board game from Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony has been expanded into a standalone
Oh, that's cool.
game.
Standalone game, okay.
Ultimate Summer Camp. An all-star cast of characters from
I only dabbled in this a little
Danganronpa
bit,
series will
but
come together to battle at a tropical resort.
I mean, post-game stuff in Danganronpa is fun. I keep meaning to go back and do more of it.
The 4-game collection,
But you know, to me,
Danganronpa Decades,
in most games, the
launches as
highlight
a
is the main
physical
story.
exclusive on Nintendo Switch later this year. All
But the
4
like
games will
crossover
also
fan
be
service of the
individually
characters from
available
all
on Nintendo eShop.
all of them is still really cool. This is probably a port of the Wii U Fatal Frame.
Of ghosts.
It's called Project Zero here, which is a much more generic name. Fatal Frame is so much cooler a name.
In this horror adventure game,
That's a lot of horror
uncover
stuff
the
I
mysteries
haven't played much of.
surrounding the ethereal but deadly
Because when I was younger, I used to be
Yet
freaked out by
sad
horror
beneath
stuff
the
so
surface.
much. I'm not anywhere near as much anymore.
Your only defense is a
I gotten really into
camera
Resident
that can
Evil,
cast
but that's not really... Like, that's mostly like 4 and onwards, and that's not
Face
really all
your
that
fears
scary.
as
That's
you
like...
explore a variety of unsettling
It's more the
locations.
atmosphere, if anything.
This
And there's more action
spine-toned
elements to a
story
lot of those
features
as well.
various protagonists, letting you experience the game from different
But one of these days I'll get into a horror
perspectives.
series that's more scary than that, like Silent Hill I'm not into yet, but I want to.
Investigate Mount Hikami
Played a bit of the first one of
and
those.
stay alive. Fatal Frame, Maiden of Black Water, creeps onto Nintendo.
And I'm pretty
Switch
sure
this
that's the name of the
summer.
Wii U one. It probably isn't as good without the gamepad either. Because it actually like move around the gamepad like people wanted you to do with Pokemon Snap when... Oh, wait, didn't that already come out? Oh, the DLC, right. So the DLC, the Switch version of the DLC is delayed, like the regular game is delayed. Because there's a different company porting it and it's such a challenge to get that game running on the Switch at all. Like, look at how fuzzy that is.
In demon-infested ruins and rain-swept terrain.
But the fact that these games run on Switch at all is... and run as well as they do, even though they don't run well. But the fact that they run as well as they do on Switch is remarkable.
Later today.
And it has gyro, which makes it better than the PlayStation and Xbox versions. It's either PC or Switch or don't bother. Just because of that for me, because that's how big of a deal with that kind of shooter that is to me. And this is a game I'm thinking about getting on PlayStation one day. Play bits and pieces of the originals. But if I get the remasters, it'll probably be on PS4. Or 5 if they do a remaster of that. You know, it's always good to see more stuff come to Switch, as long as it doesn't take away too much from the development of new games. And more original games.
The Strange Brigade.
Because if everything on Switch was just a port of something where I could play a better version of it on a different system, then like there wouldn't be a point of getting a Switch, you know?
Or team up with other daring adventurers in local wireless co-op and online play.
Yeah, I don't know what
Expect
this
the
is.
unexpected when Strange Brigade launches on Nintendo Switch later.
It looks fine.
today.
Little Uncharted vibes there.
It's a new adventure of cosmic proportions.
Wasn't there like a multiplayer like
Mario
Tomb
and his
raiding
friends will team up with the
co-op
rabbits
thing
once
on the
again
Wii
to
U?
restore order to the
Treasure or
galaxy.
something?
Our heroes must stop a mysterious new evil from plunging the
I wonder if that was
universe
any
into
good, because I
chaos.
never got a chance to play it, and I would expect the servers are probably down by now, because it was very late in the Wii U's life,
Rabbit
and that
Rosalina
I don't think
joins
that
them.
ever got a port.
Wait, is she bored already? Explore planets filled with quirky residents and even
Yeah, of
quirkier
course they're going to
secrets.
mention this from the Ubisoft thing.
And in this fresh take on the tactical genre,
Funny how
heroes can
one
run
of
freely
the,
around the
if not the
battlefield,
best thing from the Ubisoft presentation this year was a Nintendo thing.
so aim for victory with a little help from your friends. Wait, who's that?
I really like that, like,
Well, one thing's certain.
punk
This is
rabbit.
gonna be one heck of
I
a galactic
don't,
adventure.
I can't believe it.
Mario plus rabbits, sparks of hope.
I
launches into
don't
space
love the
or
rabbits as
onto
much as some
Nintendo
people
Switch
do.
next year.
But that fucking goth punk rabbit, or whatever. She's fucking cool. I recognize those sound effects from somewhere. I thought I did, maybe not. Oh, Advance Wars! Cool. Original Advance... Oh, so it's Game Boy Wars or Famicom Wars. Honestly, I still kind of like the sprite art look from the Game Boy Advance games more. But this is... Well, I do like how they... At first, for a second there, I was like, oh, they look like they're all made of plastic. That's a bad thing, like it's bad graphics. But I guess that's what they're going for, isn't it? Which actually makes it kind of cool, like you're playing with little toys.
Thrilling stories, memorable characters,
In that sense, it's got its own, you know, its own style to it. It's actually doing that on purpose.
To victory.
Yeah, it's already grown on me. That was fast.
Play the first two Advance Wars campaigns in Advance Wars 1.
Oh, no, it is
2
Advance
and 3
Wars.
Boot Camp. Marching on to Nintendo Switch this holiday. Pre-orders begin today on Nintendo eShop.
Hard to say if
How is everything?
that's going to be better or worse than just playing the original versions of those. But if it was like Famicom Wars or Game Boy Wars, like the Japan-only ones, the predate Advance Wars, that would make more sense, I think, for a Western audience to pick them up. Age of Calamity, I bet. Yep, there we go. Just like the music and the... I don't know, like, I didn't think that was going to be Breath of the Wild 2. Stefan played Breath of the Wild. Oh my god. So many fucking video games. I haven't heard as many people talking about this one as they did the original Hyrule Warriors, but I guess that was because it was a new thing then, so, you know, people taken off guard by the game even existing. Yeah, apparently they're really good and they look pretty cool. I've got to play more of Persona 5S, and I think I've got one of the Dynasty Warriors games. Like 7, I think? One of the on PS3.
Hello
Oh,
there.
there's Aonuma.
I'm Eiji Aonuma, producer of
Which
the
means we
Legend of Zelda
might get
series.
Breath of the Wild 2 stuff
What
after
you've
all.
just seen is a trailer for the first wave of DLC for the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity expansion pass from Koei Tecmo Games. It will follow Link and his allies through more battles that took place 100 years prior to the events of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I hope you'll look forward to it. I have a few more things to share with you all today. We'll begin with The Legend of
right,
Zelda
Skyward
Sword HD game, which launches next month.
I'm gonna pay $60 for a Wii game?
You'll immerse
Well,
yourself
60
in the world of
American?
Link by using
Gonna be
two
like 90,
Joy-Con
100 here,
controllers
something like
for
that?
intuitive motion controls,
Which is not...
or by playing
Like, if you're from
handheld.
America and you don't know how much games cost in Australia,
Flipping the stick and button
60
only
US
controls.
dollars equals about 80 Australian
This
dollars.
game depicts the oldest era in the
But
Legend of
like,
Zelda series,
most games
the
are
story
lucky to be
of
under
how it all
90
began.
Australian.
What
And on
is
the
the origin
PS5,
of
like,
the
you get a
Master Sword?
$10 increase, so you're,
Why
like,
did a woman
what in the
named Zelda
US you'd
become
pay
the
$70
legend
for a
future
brand new
generations?
PS5 game? Here it's like
These will all be
120.
unraveled in this game.
Like, if they upped it just by
We
the
hope you're
equivalent
looking forward
amount
to The
with the
Legend of
currency
Zelda
conversion,
Skyward Sword HD.
what you'd pay 74, we'd pay like... Well, what it would be. Well, for you, a $10 increase would be like a $15 for us, but now instead it's like 20, 30,
Here's a little
40
something
bucks
you might
more or
like.
something.
This is a Game &
I
Watch
can't math
system
right
that
now, I'm
lets
trying
you
to watch
play
a thing
any
at the same
games from the Legend of
time.
Zelda series. This year, the original Legend of Zelda game reaches its 35th.
Sony's always been awful about that. And Nintendo aren't as bad as about the initial prices they set, at least in Australia compared to America. But they're really bad about having games go on sale and become cheaper over time. They just don't. Like, you can still buy, like, Wii games from used in EB games for, like, 30, 40, 50 bucks. Australian. So it's a bit less than American. Like, they should be, like, 20 for a Wii game, you know?
Zelda Link's Awakening game.
Like, that should be the price of bloody Wii U games, if not cheaper.
Starring Link as the playable character. So that's 4 games on one system, from longer Legend of Zelda games to the pick-up-and-play game Vermin.
This is a neat little collectible thing. Probably not something I'll buy, but you know, it's neat that it exists, like the Mario one as well.
We've added a playable clock based on the Legend of Zelda. And an interactive timer themed after Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link.
Those NES games are fucking brutal.
You can play with both of them by taking control of Link.
So much of Zelda 1 is just like bomb a random wall and just hope that it's one that's actually useful to you, or just look up a fucking walkthrough, because there's nothing in the game that actually gives you even the slightest hint of what you're actually meant to do. Oh, okay, we are seeing this today.
2 years have passed since we first announced this game, and we've been.
So I guess we'll get an actual title probably, even if we don't see much of it.
However, development has been steadily progressing. For today, we've prepared some new footage to show a bit more of the game. Please take a look.
I mean, even though it's reusing stuff from Breath of the Wild, it's no doubt, it's still, you know, these are big games. I'm not surprised they take a long time to make. Some people just need to be way more fucking patient with this stuff. Be less upset about what's not announced and try to be more positive about what we actually end up getting. Like, if there's no mention of Bayonetta 3... Oh, this is like a Skyloft thing. Like Skyward Sword. Okay. That is beautiful. I imagine it won't play too much like Skyward Sword, and it's just got the whole sky thing mixed in with what makes Breath of the Wild great. Oh, that's cool. I don't know where Breath of the Wild exactly is on the timeline, but if everything's rising up into the sky, I suppose it would be the first one, right? It'll go Breath of the Wild, this, Skyward Sword. With Skyward Sword, everything's already in the sky. This would be where it goes up into the sky in the first place. This is like the formation of Skyloft in a way. Maybe, I don't know. No title. They still haven't given it a name. They've given it a game. Okay. I was thinking it was more likely to get a name than gameplay, but it's the other way around.
The setting for the adventure has been expanded to include the skies above Hyrule. We'd like to ask you to wait a bit
expanded? Does that mean that they're going to have the entire world from the first Breath of the Wild on top of another open world in the clouds, or like the same open world but expanded up vertically?
That's all for this Nintendo Direct. We are diligently
we're gonna have one more thing.
Games we didn't show today. I hope you'll continue looking forward to what's in store on Nintendo Switch. Thank you for watching.
No, they're just kind of short right there. Okay. I suppose the Breath of the Wild 2 for a lot of people is going to be like the really big thing that they wanted to see most. For me, the 2 big things I would have wanted to see most are the 2 big things that I would have thought would have been the least likely to show up, which are like Bayonetta 3 and Metroid Prime 4. I'm not surprised at all we didn't get those. I am surprised we're getting an entirely new Metroid game. And it looks amazing, and it's a 2D HD Metroid game. But like with 3D models and stuff, and it looks like it's got like really good production values and everything. That's just fucking sick. That's really cool. Oh, it makes me want to go back and play and finish some more of the older ones I didn't get around to finishing yet. Yeah, that was fun. I mean, nothing for me that's like big, huge, like screaming, oh my god kind of shit. Well, like a bit of that, I guess, but not like Banjo and Smash level stuff. But I wasn't really expecting that, and like that's fine. Like not every E3 has to be that. Like this, yeah, this isn't Nintendo's like best showing for me personally, but it's far from their worst. Like not even close to their worst. Man, a new Metroid. That's cool as hell. Like, and with the Smash reveal too for... Shit, I forgot his name. I don't think it's Heihachi, is it? Heihachi's definitely a Tekken character, but I don't remember which one. If it's him or if it's the other guy with, like, spiky hair. Is Heihachi the old man? Oh, I just saw it on Twitter. It's Kazuya. Yeah, that's right. Kazuya is him, and then the older guy with the spiky hair, I think, is the name that I just said that I've already forgotten. But like, Smash already has so many goddamn characters in it. Let me just switch over to this. Smash has so many characters in it right now. It is insane. It has way more characters in it than I ever could have asked for. We've got fucking Banjo in it. That's the thing I've been waiting for since I was a little kid. Since I played like the first game on the 64. And it's like, where's Banjo? Like, who the fuck's Ness? Where's Banjo? You know? Like, now Earthbound's one of my favorite games. Now Star Fox 64 is as well. But like, I back then, like, Fox was just that weird character from Smash. It's like Diddy Kong Racing, how they've got like all these original characters, and then they've also got like Diddy Kong, Banjo, and Conker. Like, that's what Smash was to me as a kid at first. It's like, okay, yeah, we've got Mario, we've got Kirby, we got... Who's that guy? Oh, he's from F-Zero, I think. Like, because I'd played X as a kid, but I wouldn't recognize a lot of the characters yet. Like, Rareware stuff being in Smash is something I wanted for such a long time. The fact that we've got it now, at this point, I'm just like, you know, yeah, there are other characters that I'd really, really love to see. But, like, nothing's gonna top that. So, any character that we get, as long as that I can see is gonna be, like, to someone's taste, that I can see is like a big deal, it's a really special, like, cool crossover, even if it's not with a series I'm familiar with, I'm still just like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I've got Banjo, so, you know, you guys have this, and that's really cool. And then that's it for me. Like, there's already so many characters in the game. The next character could be a shitty one. The next character could be another fucking Fire Emblem's not shitty, but, you know, there's maybe too many characters from that series in the game. If they announced another one, I'd be like, yeah, well, that's not great, but, you know, whatever. I've got Banjo. Like, I've got Banjo, I've got Sonic. I'm set, you know? I've got the Inkling. I'm all good. They don't have to do that much at this point. The game's already amazing. The game's already got, like, way more than I would have expected it to have in it. Yeah, I hoped for Bayonetta 3. Not surprised we had nothing from that. I saw Kamiya teasing shit on Twitter. He was like, oh, look at this new package I've got in the mail. And it's like 3 identical, like, Nendroid figures of Bayonetta. Like, look at my 3 Bayonetta figures. I have 3 Bayonettas. Huh, how about that? Isn't that cool? Like, he's just fucking with us. He's such a troll. I love it. Blocking everyone every second. He's the best. All of you are blocked. None of you are free from sin. You want Bayonetta 3? Well, fucking wait. They probably announced that way too soon, to be honest. If it's taken them this many years to show anything, maybe that's a sign that they should have, like, waited, like... Maybe this should have been the year they announced that Bayonetta 3 was going to exist at all, and they shouldn't have bothered at the Game Awards all that long ago. But maybe they expected development to go faster than it has, for whatever reason. I don't know. It is kind of weird when you think about that. The stuff that most recently announced is the stuff that I most expect to see there. And the stuff that was announced years ago that has so much time for them to get something ready is the stuff that I don't expect them to show. Because if it's been that long and they haven't shown anything, there's got to be a reason for it. Like, something's probably gone wrong. Or like some kind of delay in the development. Like, they came out and be like, yeah, development of Metroid Prime 4 was not working at all. And we're starting again totally from scratch, totally different studio, but some of the same people, I think. Like that's just, but like stuff like that, whether we see it or whether it's just me guessing that there's probably something like that going on behind the scenes, is why I don't expect stuff like Bayonetta 3 or Metroid Prime 4. But, you know, I appreciate they actually said it with Metroid Prime 4. They were upfront and transparent with the issues they were having with it. But then stuff that's been announced sooner that we've actually already seen a little bit of gameplay for, I'm like, okay, this is actually, the ball's really rolling on this now, so I expect them to keep bringing it up and see more of it until it comes out. Even though it's probably been in development for less time, it's still... You can see that it's running smoothly. You can see that they're making progress and that it's probably going to be on schedule, whatever that schedule may be. But speaking of that, no Splatoon 3. That's the thing that surprised me. Like, I'm like most of the internet. I know how to temper expectations and I know how to be patient with some of this shit. You know, I've got enough games already. I don't mind waiting a while for some of the other ones I want to play. You're not going to wait for Bayonetta 3? Well, that's fine. I still haven't played any of the DMC games. Except for like 5 minutes of the reboot. Or probably more than 5 minutes, but you know, not much. So like, maybe I'll play them if I want some of that kind of game in the meantime. You know, I've got plenty of time. I've got plenty of games. Maybe they should stop putting out a Pokemon game every year and take a few years to develop a better game than it looks like Sword and Shield was. And then in that case, I'd be like, well, I've got the older Pokemon games I haven't played. Look at all these indie games that have been popping up that are just like Temtem and like this other one that was revealed at one of these other showcases that I didn't stream. It's literally just Pokemon, but with like really pretty pixel art. And like, didn't see anything about it that set it apart. Which kind of sucks, but on the other hand, like, you want more Pokemon? There you go, play that while you wait. How about we put like whatever the next game is in another year of development, flesh out all those things people complained about the newer game with, so that the next game doesn't have those problems.
Let's get scratching.
And then like there's plenty of games to play that's similar in the meantime that can scratch that itch. Like it's fine if a game doesn't come out immediately. But though it can be frustrating when they announce it and then there's radio silence for literally like 2 or 3 years or something. That's kind of annoying. It'd be nice, and it's kind of, but I don't mind it as much with Prime 4 because they were like, okay, well here you go. Here's why things haven't been going well, but we're starting stuff up again. We're figuring it out. They actually told us that. And it's like, okay, I'll be patient. Thanks for being honest. With Bayonetta, I don't really know what to think about that, but that's not. But yeah, they should have announced it later. But I'm still not going to be like heartbroken that it's not here. I'm not going to be angry at them. Like, oh well, I guess something's not going as expected. That's too bad. But I'll move on. You know, whatever. I can wait. I'll be sad if it gets cancelled. But if I have to wait another year for it to come out, and it's like that would mean we're getting a Bayonetta 3 at all. That's fantastic. These games are masterpieces, and I'm happy that there's a chance that there's going to be another one. Considering how like rocky this series has been, and how much trouble they had getting the second game made at all before Nintendo swooped in and saved it. I'm happier about whether or not these games exist at all. Like, I'm more concerned with that than I am with when they come out. Yeah, no Splatoon 3. There's like, I'm fine with that. I'm not angry. I'm just a little confused, I guess. A little surprised. Like, I'm more angry with Ubisoft for not showing stuff that's in development because they showed so much other stuff that was thoroughly uninteresting to me. Or so much that, like, a lot of people didn't seem to care about, I guess. Like, it doesn't seem like it's just me. Like, I've tried to be like, well, these are just games that aren't for me. That's fine. That not every game has to be for me. The ones that are for me are still coming, presumably. Hopefully, Beyond Good and Evil 2, things are going okay with that. With Nintendo, I don't mind it as much because, like, all these other games, not all of them, but a lot of them still seem really cool to me.
Let's get scratching.
Like, yeah, we see no Splatoon 3 and No Metroid Prime 4, no Bayonetta 3, but they announced a new Metroid game. Another one. They announced Metroid 5. Metroid Dread 2. That's... like, that's fine. Like, that's fantastic. I don't mind not getting the specific announcements that I was hoping for. Because I get other announcements and I'm like, hey, yeah, that's cool. And with Ubisoft, it's like, okay, well, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is having some issues. Okay, well, here's another game that maybe some of those people would like. It doesn't even have to be Rayman. Just... Or with Xbox, like, well, I guess they had Halo, but... all of the games that I most wanted to see from them were totally absent. Except for little mentions like, oh yeah, we're still making Perfect Dark, and we're still making this, and we're still making this. Like, there was a list of like 3 or 4 different IPs there. They were just like, oh yeah, by the way, we're still working on those, but we don't have anything to show. But anyway, here's some stuff to show about some stuff that's not actually... it's either not very good or not what I'm personally into. Or even things where it'd be like, you know, I'm not a big fan of Bethesda stuff outside of what they own, like id. But with Starfield, like, they showed barely anything. And I'd probably be able to appreciate that more from a, you know, the thing... I'd probably be more willing to be like, well, the things that I most wanted weren't there, but, you know, this is going to be really appealing to this crowd, and I'm happy for them for that. There was even less of that with Xbox and Bethesda, because, like, Starfield, they showed a pre-rendered trailer that didn't get a sense for what the game actually is at all. And then there was nothing from all these other series and all these other games. There was a bit from Halo. I did watch that other Halo thing off stream. There's like a video going in more depth about the competitive side of it, and I'm tempted to do like another stream later on, just to be like, okay, well, here's some of the other stuff I didn't stream. Here's a few things that are highlights for me. Here's what I have to say about them. I'm on the fence of whether or not I actually do that, but the Halo Infinite multiplayer thing looks fantastic. And Nintendo was good this year. I'm happy with that, you know? A lot of stuff I won't play, but a lot of that isn't because it's uninteresting to me and it looks cookie cutter and generic and shitty like another Left 4 Dead clone. It's because, like, there's already so many of that series that I want to catch up on first. Like with Mario Golf, like the new Mario Golf game looks bloody fantastic. The only reason I'm not getting it is because I've got other Mario Golf games that I already own that I want to play first. But like that game looks fantastic, you know? Alright, I'm gonna see if I can find a decent list of stuff that was shown off for this, and just see if there's anything else that I haven't thought about, that I've forgotten, that I wanted to talk about after the fact. So I'm just gonna mute myself and hopefully remember to unmute myself this time, because holy shit. And I'll be back soon.
Let's get scratching. Let's get scratching. Let's get scratching.
Okay, I'm just got Nintendo's YouTube up right now, and I'm just looking at the thumbnails for their trailers. Get a sense of some of the highlights. Not everything that was at the Direct seems to have its own video there, but that's fine. That Danganronpa thing, now that I think about it, like, I wonder if it's possible to get that fourth game where it was like the mode from V3 that they made standalone and they're calling it its own game. I wonder if it'll be possible to buy that separately as its own thing. Because if it is, I might pick that up. But if you have to buy like the entire trilogy all over again and it's like full price, like 80, 90 Australian dollars, that's not happening. I've got them already on Steam or on PlayStation. So like I don't need to buy the games again. I don't want to buy all of the games I already have again just for, like, I don't want to buy 3 games I already have again just to get a 4th one that I don't. And Monkey Ball's the thing I forgot to mention. Because now, I have played a bit of, hold on. I have played a bit of... Let me switch this over first. Oh, it's not working again. We've got the black screen again. I shouldn't get into much trouble if it's after the thing's already aired on Twitch and we're just looking at individual trailers on YouTube out of context. So I'm just gonna play some of these in the background, maybe scrub through them a bit. Let me just try and fix OBS's weird issues it has with Edge. I don't usually use Edge as a browser, I use Firefox, but I use just to be safe, I use Edge as like a streaming setup. Like I've got like Twitch dashboard stuff already set up in just the right spots, my other monitor, and everything's lined up right with the window sizes so that it's easier for streaming, and I don't have to worry as much about like personal information or something not safe for work showing up on stream by accident, like it might with my usual Firefox setup with my way too many tabs that I have open. That should work now. There it is. And I'll unmute you, turn you down a bit just to be safe. So I have played, no, let's just go through all of these Monkey Ball games on here. So the first one I've only played a little bit of, but all of the levels in that, not so much the aesthetic of the levels, but just like the design, the layout of them, was copied over into Deluxe. Because Deluxe is like like the level layouts from 1, the actual entirety of 2, like the levels from 1 are brought over into 2's and like 2's visual style, and then they added a bunch of extra levels that were going to be in a Monkey Ball 3, but that was cancelled. So it's like all the levels layouts from 1 and 2 and this other cancel game all in one game on like the Xbox and PS2. I've beaten the story mode of that. But I haven't beaten the story mode of the original version of 2 because you have to finish like every single individual course in order to progress, which is the case for most Monkey Ball games, but you don't for Deluxe. And I find like some of these Monkey Ball games are really fucking hard. Some are actually quite easy. Like the later ones are much easier than the earlier ones. But Monkey Ball 1 here I've only played a bit of. 2, I didn't finish the original version of 2. Deluxe I finished, but Deluxe kind of is Monkey Ball 2 with a ton of extra stuff from 1 and 3. So it's like a 2.5, like a definitive version of 2 in some ways. Touch and Roll I played a little bit of. Adventure's not good. I really want to like Adventure. That's Traveler's Tales I think did Adventure. Which is like yeah, they did like Sonic R and the 3D Blast, and now they do nothing but Lego games. Like since Lego Star Wars on the PS2, it's mostly just been Lego games which are all basically just the same game, but replace Star Wars with whatever IP they're using at the moment. Which is a shame because they've done some really good games as well. Like, I mean, I played a lot of the first Lego Star Wars as a kid, like with my brother on the PS2, and that's a good game. But I don't, it sucks to see any company just making the same game over and over again. And like, the Toy Story 2 game they made is fucking fantastic. Like, licensed movie games you don't usually expect much of, that's one of the best ones. Like, not GoldenEye good or anything, but like, it's a really good, like, 3D platformer, like Mario 64 type game. I cannot recommend it enough. Banana Blitz was the game I got when I first... Oh, I kind of forgot we were talking about Adventure for a bit there. But Adventure's not great. The controls feel off. They tried to turn it into like a story mode thing. Monkey Ball controls where you're tilting the world, but it's a story mode and trying to solve puzzles, and like it doesn't really work. It's like two different clashing... Like, I like that they're trying to take it in new directions and make it more than just here's a bunch of levels, beat 'em, go, that's it, you know? But they didn't... It didn't really work well in that case, sadly. And even the classic mode where it was just playing levels over and over again, the controls were really off and some of the levels were really weirdly designed and it wasn't that great. The Banana Blitz was like one of the first games I got when I got a Wii in like 2007. I got this and Rayman Raving Rabbids. And maybe... Oh yeah, and Wii Sports, obviously. And like, this was like the first Monkey Ball game I really got into. And this game, I really like the art direction change over the older games. Like, the newer character designs are way cuter. The music in the original Wii version of Banana Blitz is so good. It's one of the best video game soundtracks, like, probably ever. Which is probably a way bigger statement than anyone else would give anything else in that game, considering that in like the American version, in one of the hardest levels of the game, they just forgot to make one of the platforms solid, and then you just fall straight through it right at the end of one of the most difficult levels in an already challenging game. And on top of that, it's more difficult because they force you to use these weird motion controls, which are really cool in theory, because like you're tilting the whole world around in Monkey Ball instead of the character, so it makes sense. Just tilts the controller and it's one-to-one with you tilting the world. But it didn't quite match up that way, and it felt a little awkward, and it felt a lot less precise. Well, stable, sorry. Like, it was precise enough, it wasn't very stable, which is the problem with a lot of motion control stuff. Relative to a mouse or a joystick, even though... With shooters, like, I'd still say gyro's better than a stick. But then mouse, you get the best of both worlds. You get the precision and the stability, but you have to set up straight at a computer instead of sitting back with a controller. So that's a whole thing, its own. With Monkey Ball, the controls didn't really work so well with Banana Blitz, sadly. And it was very finicky. Just even if you put the controller like on a table, for some reason, like a flat. Like, being completely flat, like a Wii Remote being completely flat on the table, the game didn't register that as being completely flat in-game. So if you put the controller down, you're still constantly, gradually rolling forward. Which means just holding it back and wobbling it around and getting it to just the right position, and also compensating for your hands shaking, and just standing up straight and not moving at all is such a huge challenge half the time in Banana Blitz. Like, some of the more difficult parts of the game when you first start playing it are just the parts where you have to sit still and not move at all on a moving platform. Because you just go all over the place just because your hands shake that little bit, and then it causes the entire game world just wobbles like crazy when you just from you holding the controller as still as you humanly can. Like, once you get used to it, it's not the worst thing in the world, but like it held Banana Blitz back. Like, with the music and the aesthetic, and like the jumping is something that a lot of like diehard Monkey Ball fans, like speedrunners and stuff, aren't a fan of. But like it gives Banana Blitz his own identity, and I find it fun. You know, I like jumping around. So Banana Blitz is, honestly, without the motion control problems, like, if you could just play the original version of Banana Blitz with a stick, it would be like almost as good as the classic games. Like, it would be worthy of being called Monkey Ball 3. I'd like it a lot, which is why I'm so happy it got a HD version, because then they did like patch in, like, via Steam input, like this kind of hacky way of like mapping the gyro in like a Steam controller or another controller to a joystick, so you could still use motion controls in the remaster on PC, kinda, sorta. Even though it's not really the same. But it's as close as you can get. But like, they just let you use a stick. Like, they altered the level design slightly to accommodate for that difference, but they just let you use a stick. That was the biggest difference in that game, in the remaster. That just suddenly we go from this really frustrating game with this huge learning curve with these really awkward controls, and just this simple change of, instead of using motion controls, you just use an analog stick. Suddenly it's like the best Monkey Ball game except for 1 and 2 and Deluxe. And Deluxe is basically 1 and 2, so it's like, it's one of the best games suddenly in the series. The shitty thing about HD is that they changed the music. And I'm getting ahead because HD is also in this video here somewhere. The shitty thing about HD is that they changed the music to, like, the new music's fine. I don't hate the new music. The original soundtrack of Banana Blitz on the Wii is way too good, though. It's way, way too good to sleep on, to replace with pretty much anything else. It's like how I feel about Sonic CD and like the Japanese and European soundtracks, but like times a billion. Like, the Japanese soundtrack is so good, even if the Western one's still good, like, it's worse. Like, by comparison, you're missing out on an incredible soundtrack there by playing with the Western one, even though the American one, at least. Even though the American one's not terrible. Banana Blitz is same thing, but so much more. Like, the original soundtrack is so damn good, and the newer soundtrack is so just serviceable. Just, you know, it's alright. It feels like criminal to play Banana Blitz HD on anything except for Steam, except for the PC version with the modded in original soundtrack. Because that original soundtrack makes that game so much better. And, you know, they touched on the visuals and stuff too and made it look HD, which is nice, but just the stick alone made that collection like an immediate buy for me as someone who played a lot of Banana Blitz on the Wii, because that was like one of the very few games I even had on the Wii to begin with. So, you know, even though the motion controls felt awkward as hell to me at first, in 2007, so it would have been like, I don't know, 14-ish? 13, 14? Even then, I was like, oh, these motion controls actually kind of make this game really awful and awkward. But then I kept playing it because, like, it's not like I had much else to play on the Wii at that point. And I got used to it to an extent. And I was still like, this would be better if I played like the other Monkey Ball games, but this is alright. And it has all these other good features. And then just giving you a stick in HD brought out so much of the best of that game. You could map the motion controls to an analog stick in Dolphin, but because like I said, when you put the Wii remote flat on a surface like a table, and you lean like it thinks you're moving forward, even if you're actually flat, even if it's completely still. And that So like if you map an analog stick directly to the motion controls, to the tilt sensor, then it's like, okay, so the Wii remote being completely flat on the table is what happens when you're not touching the stick. But in that case, you're moving forward. So if you let go of the stick completely, you're still slightly moving forward at all times. It's still better than playing with motion controls that way somehow. And there's no way to fix that. There's no setting for that in Dolphin to like change the center point of the motion controls in the motion to analog mapping. But like, somehow it's still better to play it that way. But now you don't need to, because there's a HD version and it's a native PC port and it has just regular controller support, and it's one of the best Monkey Ball games that's not on... It's the best Monkey Ball game that's not on the GameCube. Except for Splits, I guess. I haven't played that, but I mean, that's probably not much better than 3D, I would imagine, but I'll get to that in a sec. I'm talking about this way more than I meant to. I meant to talk about new games, and here I'm sitting talking about a fucking Wii game from 2006. Why am I like this? Then Step and Roll was just Banana Blitz, but you couldn't jump anymore, and the music was worse. And you could use a balance board, but then those controls are even worse than the Wii remote controls. So Step and Roll was just kind of there. Like, there wasn't anything horrendous about it that wasn't any different from Banana Blitz. But there's everything that all of the really good things made Banana Blitz special was suddenly gone. So you get the shitty motion controls of Banana Blitz combined, or even worse, like even worse balance board controls if that's what you wanted for some reason. But then, you don't get the amazing soundtrack, you don't get the jumping and how that changes the game and makes it feel fresh. A lot of the level designs, the design of the levels themselves were so different from the original games too. So it felt so much more like you were being led along these paths by these little grooves in the levels. Like there were these little dips it's hard to explain with words, but it was a bit weird. And then 3D was one of the ones I actually beat. I didn't end up playing that much of Step and Roll, but I did finish 3D. It's pretty good. Like the level, but it is like the easiest one by a mile, which is probably why I beat it. But it's the easiest one I've played easily in the entire series. But it's solid, it serves. It's okay. If you had a 3DS when it was newish, and that was one of the few games that you had to play on it, it's a good game. I'd still recommend 3D. But nothing compared to Banana. They didn't even mention Banana Splits in this, which is the Vita one, which I haven't played yet. Which I imagine isn't too different from 3D. They just completely skipped over Banana Splits. And if I'd actually played that game, I'd probably be really fucking mad about that. Though 3D did have a bunch of music by Hideki Naganuma under his, was it Skank Funk or Ska Funk? I think it was his, other alias that he used instead of crediting by his real name for whatever legal reasons he had or something. He used the same name on the anime he did music for, Air Gear, which I still haven't seen. He's known for Jet Set Radio and Sonic Rush, and his music's amazing. Monkey Ball 3D isn't his best work, and it's not all his work either, but he's got a few standout tracks in there for sure. Mama Frog was the name of the song in one of the later levels. That's a really good one. Then pretend the Vita doesn't exist, because that's what Sony does, so Sega may as well, apparently. But first thing they announced, they're remastering Banana Blitz. I'm like, yes, finally, I've wanted this for since the game came, well, not since it came out, but since I got a Wii, the year after it came out. So it was over a decade later after for over a decade, I was like, this game would be amazing if someone just modded it so you could use a GameCube controller. That's all they needed to do, and it would go from hit and miss to one of the best Monkey Ball games. And then they just did a HD version, which was more or less exactly that, with some visual changes as well, and the music change, which we already talked about. And there we go, it's one of the best Monkey Ball games. But people still complain when they announced it, because I was super excited because of that, because I could use a stick now. But it seemed like most of the internet was just like, Banana Blitz, like, who cares about that? It's not on the GameCube. It's not 1, it's not 2. Who cares? Where's our remasters of Monkey Ball 1 and 2? Well, here's your fucking remaster of Monkey Ball 1 and 2. Alright? So you can shut the fuck up now. You've got what you wanted. And honestly, like, I mean, I wanted that too, but Banana Blitz felt like it needed it more. And probably there was less work to do on it to update it because it visually was already one of the better looking games on the Wii. Which is impressive for how early in the lifespan of the Wii it was. But, you know, Monkey Ball's pretty simple. You know, like, the levels floating out in space. It's not complex environments to render or anything. But, like, the art style and the music carried it, and it looked really nice on the Wii. So they didn't have... Maybe, I guess this would have taken more work, because the art style of the original games was so different. But they made the right decision by remastering the games that needed it more on account of the game's faults, and then remastering the game that, well, maybe needed it more because of availability of those systems for people that, like, don't have a GameCube or don't want to emulate or don't have an older system at all, like an Xbox or a PS2, because there's not too expensive. Deluxe isn't that expensive or that rare on either of those systems. But, you know, we've got a version of these on much more modern platforms. And I'm totally picking this up. It looks great. And they went even further with the remastering here than they did with Banana Blitz HD, because there was... Well, it looks like it because there's a totally different art style in a lot of ways, because there's more to change. Whoop, bumped my pop filter. Just a sec. And, like, this... Even if I hadn't... I kind of wish I didn't see, like, the leaks of the screenshots on Twitter. Because it didn't show as much. People just saw the name and then a screenshot and like, hey, it's a new Monkey Ball. That's cool. And then it took a little bit longer for people to realize, hey, wait a minute. That kind of looks like a level from, like, the first game or the second game. And people started like, oh, well, maybe it's just including some old levels, or maybe it is the remaster that people were asking for. It is! Like, first thing I saw this was, like, the guitar string looking level. Like, I recognized this immediately from 2 and Deluxe. Like, it's just 1 and 2, except way prettier. And, like, this is a Nintendo showcase, so this is saying this is a Switch version, but, like, Banana Blitz Deluxe was on PC and PlayStation and I think Xbox as well. So, like, this is most likely going to be on them as well. So I'll probably... Like, even though I really like having a physical collection of games, I still got this on Steam just to mod in the old sound. I still got Banana Blitz HD on Steam to mod in the old soundtrack. This one, maybe I'll get a physical version of this one. Maybe I'll get it on Switch or PS4 or 5 or whatever it ends up being on. I don't know yet. Because the music in the older Monkey Ball games, like, it's to a lot of people that got really into this series, is really iconic and memorable or nostalgic for some people, but for me, it never quite hooked me as the way that Banana Blitz's soundtrack did. So if the soundtrack's different, that bothers me less with remasters of the old games. If they're not different, then there's not even a problem. But I don't recognize the song that's playing in the trailer right now here. Yeah, like, it flashes very, very quickly, but there's direct comparisons there. I don't know if that's 2 or Deluxe. I don't know if that's GameCube, PS2, or Xbox, but, you know, very similar look either way. And there's the comparison. That looks so much better than Sonic Colors Ultimate. Like, I should probably talk about that later. But man, that looks really good. Like, it looks like it's true to, like, the style of the original to an extent. Like, it's more colorful in the new one, but it looks similar enough to the style of the original designs, while still updating it so it looks like the post Banana Blitz. Like, it fits with the post Banana Blitz character designs and how the levels and everything about that art style is so much more colorful, and the characters so much cuter. Like, that's a really huge improvement. I don't know if that's Switch footage or not. Like, it likely isn't. That's a big improvement. Oh, that's wonderful. If this thing is like priced the same as like Banana Blitz HD was, which I don't know if it will be because, you know, you could argue, oh, it's 2 games levels in one. Or maybe it's not even all of the levels. Did it say it was exactly every level remastered, or was it just a collection of highlight levels or something? It does have all of the logos for all 3 of those games there. So that implies it's like the entirety of those games. But Deluxe was also all of those games. So they could have just said Deluxe technically, but you know. That still gets the point across just as well. So it makes me wonder if like, hold on. So it mentions Monkey Ball 1, and like I said before, Deluxe had the level layouts from Monkey Ball 1. It didn't have the aesthetic of those levels. So I wonder if maybe they're actually like remaking the Monkey Ball 1 levels so that they look like they did in Monkey Ball 1. Like, I don't remember enough about what 1 looked like and how it looks different from 2 and things like that to say. But that would be a really cool touch if the Monkey Ball 1 levels aren't just like they are in Deluxe, but they're more like they are in 1. With like the visual style converted over to like redone up in HD or 4K or whatever, and also in the Banana Blitz like style, rather than just basically just taking Deluxe and then doing that up and then only showing the other 2 games there because yeah, all those levels are already in Deluxe in a way. Either way, that's really interesting, and this whole thing. There's mini games, like honestly, mini games in Banana Blitz were never a thing I cared that much about. I mean, not in Banana Blitz, in Monkey Ball in general. For me, it's always been the main game, and the mini games are just kind of hit and miss. They're not quite Mario Party, you know. I mean, Mario Party is already kind of hit and miss, but I suppose this is going to have a lot of the much more popular mini games from those original Monkey Ball games. Like, I probably played more of the mini games of Banana Blitz just because, you know, the time I had it, and like, you know, the Wii was a new thing and the motion controls were still like a novelty. Maybe the mini games in the original games are better. I haven't played enough of them to know, but hopefully all of them are in there this time, because Banana Blitz HD only had a few of them. They took like just a few of the mini games from Banana Blitz, like 10 of them or something. Maybe not even that, I don't remember. And some of them were weird choices, like some of the better ones weren't there, some really bad ones were there, and they weren't all adapted from motion controls to analog sticks well. These minigames probably will be better compared to just Banana Blitz HD, because those are like motion control games awkwardly converted to controller inputs. These would be mini games from 1 and 2 that were designed for a GameCube controller. Now you can use them on like whatever modern controller you use, on whatever platform you use it on. So it'll probably convert a lot better, and they'll be more fun than, like, this HD version will probably have better mini games than the other HD version. But like, I don't have enough experience with the mini games in the older ones to tell you if the mini games with motion in Banana Blitz are better or worse than the ones in the original versions of 1 and 2 and Deluxe. I've talked about that fucking way more than I meant to. I was just gonna like skim through this and like, hey, see, look at how it's similar to these other ones, and like, I just fucking... That's me for you. This is why I'm called TalkyPup, because I don't shut the fuck up sometimes. It's all or nothing. Like, sometimes I'm really anxious and quiet and awkward, like I have been in some of these other E3 streams. And sometimes I just do not shut up. And I just got all this shit racing in my mind, and I just info dump everything about it. And I just cannot stop myself sometimes. So let's go back to YouTube here. What else was there that I didn't already talk about a bit earlier? I think I said everything I wanted to say about Mario Golf. A lot of these are just ports. Ace Attorney, they showed more of the Great Ace Attorney on the Capcom thing, which I was going to talk about in another stream. It like if I decide to do one. But you know, it's really cool that they're bringing that back. I've still got enough of the other Ace Attorney games to play instead of buying this one, but I'm really cool that it's really cool that this is happening. Maybe one day, like this is probably easier to port than Investigations 2 because like it's a 3DS game, so it's 3D models. While the DS and like GBA stuff is all sprites that they'd have to redraw like they did for the original trilogy. And Investigations 2 is probably like either of the investigation games, they're probably not as, they don't have as much of an audience as like the original trilogy and would take more work than a 3DS game with 3D models that can be more easily just rendered at a high resolution. They're probably touching it up in more ways than that, but still. Hopefully this still means that maybe the Investigations games will get some kind of remasters and then Investigations 2 could maybe get an English release one day, but you know, I haven't played Investigations 1. I still haven't finished the third. I finished 1 and 2. I've got the trilogy on, like the original trilogy on 3DS. And I played 1 on WiiWare, then I bought the trilogy on 3DS to play 2 and 3, but I only got around to finishing 2. So I gotta still finish like 3 and 4, and 4 is Apollo Justice. I gotta finish 3, Apollo Justice, 5, 6. Did they make a 7? I don't know. It all blends together at this point. And then the Investigations games, only one of which got an official localization anyway. And then Phoenix Wright versus Professor Layton. I haven't played that at all either. But I haven't played any of the Layton games. Oh my god. It's too many games. I think I like the style of Layton more than the gameplay though. With a little bit of it I played. I'm probably more likely to continue Phoenix Wright than to start getting into Layton proper. But I like the art style and the characters and stuff I still really like in that. So yeah, the new Mario Party thing, I was not expecting that. I think I already said everything I have to say about that. Because happy they're not just doing the mini games only like they did with the 3DS one, and it's the full boards and everything. The WarioWare thing looks neat, but I don't know. I guess a new mechanic, like I'm happy that they're introducing a new mechanic to keep them fresh, but I don't know if this particular new mechanic is exactly like immediately grabbing me. But also I haven't played like a new WarioWare game in a while anyway. But I appreciate that they're not just doing like, here's the Game Boy Advance one over and over, or here's the Wii one over and over, or something like that. But the same team makes Rhythm Heaven, and I adore Rhythm Heaven. So maybe like they can tend to go back and forth a bit between Wario and Rhythm Heaven. So maybe in a few years we'll get an announcement for a new one of those on the Switch. Shin Megami Tensei 5, I've got enough Persona spin-offs to finish, I've got other RPGs to finish, but that game looks really cool. You know, add that to the list of, that's really cool, I want to play it maybe one day, but not anytime soon, because backlog. Danganronpa, like I already said, I want to buy that third, like that party game thing separately. Advance Wars. It is really, like, on one hand I understand that they brought back, and I haven't played Advance Wars at all. Oh, whoopsies. I guess we won't play a video for that. On one hand, I understand that... On one hand, I'm not surprised they brought back Advance Wars, because that seems to be the most popular one. Or maybe it just seems that way because that's the only ones that came out in the West, I think. Well, I think the DS ones did, but they called it Advance Wars anyway, even though it was not on the Game Boy Advance. Then, you know, this one, the Switch version is still called Advance Wars, but I mean, the remaster of GBA games, that makes sense. Like Famicom Detective Club, it was on the Famicom. The Switch version is still called Famicom because it's a remake of a Famicom game. That's more fair. But there's a lot of games in that series that never made it over here. The Game Boy Wars and Famicom Wars, and there was probably Super Famicom Wars, I don't know. That's not a series I'm very familiar with, but... And considering but I have seen the sprite art, I think it's Intelligent Systems, I might be wrong. Like the Fire Emblem guys, and their like sprite art in the Game Boy Advance Fire Emblem games is stunning. It's like in the battle sequences is bloody beautiful. And like Advance Wars looks pretty damn good too on a Game Boy Advance. It's held up really well visually. Even though I haven't played it, you know, I can tell from footage and screenshots like it still looks really, really good. So doing it in a toy-like style, a little bit like in Link's Awakening now I think about it. Like, that's cool, and it makes a lot of sense for that franchise to be like, it's like little like war toys, like playing with little toy plastic soldiers. Like, that's a cool spin on it. I appreciate that they're giving it that style. At the same time, the original game still looks so good that I don't know, would it be better to just play the original games over that? Like, even if that remaster looks fantastic, the original games still hold up so well and have their own identity that's different enough from these remakes that it's hard to say yet. Maybe if there's more gameplay differences, then it would be worth playing the new one. Or if you just don't have access to Game Boy Advance stuff and don't want to emulate. I mean, I'd rather not emulate too. Not for the sake of legality as much as for the sake of just I like to have the original cartridges and play on real hardware. You know, original hardware. When I can. There are some games that are just, you know, not released here or stupidly expensive or whatever where I won't, but if I were to do something illegally, which I totally haven't, wink, with some games, I'd more likely like try and get the original hardware and try to play those games. Like, I would be more likely to download a ROM or an ISO to play on the actual hardware. Like, for Christmas I got a Sega Saturn. Like, a lot of games for Saturn are really expensive. But I'd still rather... Like, that's not a system that emulates well, but even if it was, I'd still rather play it on an actual Saturn than... You know, if I'm gonna be... Like, if I would be getting a game illegally, which I totally haven't, wink, then, like... I'd rather still get the actual system and play it on that than download it to play on an emulator. No matter how good the emulation is, it's just not quite the same experience. But that's nothing against emulators. There's a lot of good shit you can do with emulators, and some games are better on them than they ever could be on their original hardware. The Breath of the Wild sequel looks really cool. Still haven't played the first one, but still gotta play a lot of Zelda games, but you know. I like the idea of it, but it sucks that it's still sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Like, that's still the official title. I'm really surprised they didn't do anything about that. And Metroid Dread looks stunning. Which means I've really got a Metroid Dread development history. I will probably watch that after the stream. This is... So they're probably they're probably gonna reveal a bunch of info about, like, the DS one and, like, talk about the references in Prime 3 and all of that stuff. And talk about how similar or how different the new one is. That's really cool. I'll still watch that off stream, I think. But if this is, like, a tell-all, all secrets finally revealed after, like, over a decade of speculation about this weird cancelled DS game that people barely even know if it really was even gonna exist or not. Or if it ever did exist or not. There's some exciting stuff there to learn about. And what is this, August? Wait, I just remembered. Fucking American dates are backwards. That's October. Fuck. Fucking Americans. Always weird about things like this with the bloody imperial systems and your jumbled up dates and... Okay. I assume that's what that's American anyway. We should just start... Like, everyone in the West should just be like, fuck it, let's use Asian... Do the Asian method, the Japanese method, and do, like, year, month, day. Because then it's in order, in terms of, like, it's not smallest to biggest, it's biggest to smallest, but at least that's an actual order that makes sense, instead of being jumbled up like America is. And you wouldn't, and that way you wouldn't have to worry about like getting confused between, is this the European method or the American method? Because you'd see the year first and immediately be like, oh, it's the Asian method, so that's, and then everyone knows what it is immediately, and you don't have to look at this and be like, is this the 10th of August or is this the 8th of October? That wouldn't be a problem. But I've really got to finish more Metroid games. I finished a few of them, but not all of them. I should definitely change that. I've got was it 6, 7, 8? So I've got either 2 months or 4 months, depending on. It's probably American. I think this is like this isn't the Australian Nintendo channel, so this would be American. Even though, Nintendo's a Japanese company, but this is still the American channel, even though it doesn't say Nintendo of America. But it's in English. It's a Nintendo. This is it's basically the American channel. That's probably October. So that's like 4 months, less than 4 months, to finally getting around to finishing like Samus Returns and Super. And so if I just skip stuff like Prime, like I finished Prime 1 and 2, but if I say like if I put Prime 3 on hold and say I'll play that again some other time and just want to get caught up for this. And don't worry about the first game because the story's super simple anyway. Oh, well, it's Zero Mission though. Oh, I forgot about Zero Mission. That's actually a really good remake of the first one, of what I played of that. So there's like 4 other fucking Metroid games that I played so much more of Prime, but there's like 4 like main Metroid games that, they're not numbered in the title, but they're numbered like in the opening sequences and stuff. So you could call them numbered. So there's like 4 numbered Metroid games I should beat in like less than 4 months. Oh, that's probably not going to happen. Knowing me, that's not going to happen. But I suppose I still know enough about this series and its lore and its history. It's not like I have to beat more of them before I get to this. But I mean, it would be nice to. Damn, that's probably the biggest surprise thing for me. The Monkey Ball thing might have been if, like, I didn't already see stuff about it on Twitter. Shin Megami Tensei 5 is one of those games that they announced forever ago and then just, like, radio silence. So that's like a Bayonetta 3 type thing for some people. And this is, like, a very, like, big cult following series as well. Like, while I'm, like, for me, it's a little unfortunate we didn't get another trailer or something for Bayonetta 3. For a lot of people, this is like that for them. This is like their equivalent of what would be Bayonetta 3 for me. It's a Switch game, they announced it years ago, radio silence, and suddenly it comes back and it's got a release date and everything. And it looks amazing. Like, even as someone who's only played Persona, that game looks amazing. So I'm very happy for those people. I'm very happy for Tekken fans. I already talked enough about Smash and how I'm good with what's already in Smash. This character could be almost anything and I'd be like, whatever. It's got Banjo, I'm good. That's more than I could have ever asked for, is just that one character. And then I suppose everything else is either smaller stuff or stuff that I don't have much to say about, like Monster Hunter. Or like ports of stuff that's already on other stuff, or that was already announced, like Life is Strange and the Doom DLC. Then we got some stuff that was announced at other things. Wizard with the Gun, which is like a Don't Starve spiritual successor, I guess, but more like action, but it has a similar look to it. Never played Don't Starve. Anyway, it would be a good time now to talk about some of the other stuff that's not Nintendo that I watched and like skimmed through some stuff. But I'd like I was gonna like get a list of things to talk about and come prepared for that though. And that's the thing that I haven't done that at all. I haven't gotten a lot of sleep, so I was exhausted, and then this came along and then I'm like, oh, I'm all excited and talkative now. So anyway, yeah, this is a really good E3 for Nintendo. Like, E3 this year has been very meh for me. And a lot of the stuff that's been talked about isn't stuff that's for me, and a lot of the stuff that I wanted to see just wasn't there. No, it's stuff that's already been announced that, you know, should be. Probably, maybe. I don't know, am I being a hypocrite for being like, trying to be patient with some of the Nintendo stuff, but then still being like, where the fuck's Perfect Dark? Or where's Beyond Good and Evil 2? Maybe I am. I don't know. But still, those are the things that I would have wanted to see from those conferences that I didn't. Some of the things I would have wanted to see here I didn't. But there's so many other things that I'm happy about that, like, it doesn't have to be huge bombshells that have me screaming the house down and freaking out. Because there's still a lot of really cool shit here, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy with this. Very solid for Nintendo this year, I think. So I'm going to transition back to BRB. And I think I'll...
Let's get scratching.
Yeah, I think I will talk about some of the other stuff. I was going to make it a separate video, but you know, if I was like, I'll do it tomorrow, like, I have work tomorrow, I probably won't want to, you know? The day after that, I probably won't, I'll probably just be tired or something. It's hard to get me to start things. I'm already in the mood to talk about shit. I've already been doing it for a while. Might as well keep the train going, right? One of the other things I wanted to talk about wasn't actually... I'm not actually going to source the trailers for this. Instead, I'm going to look at some of these tweets. Because I'm a huge Sonic person. And I didn't look at... Like, I didn't stream like the Sonic Central or anything like that. Oh wait, that's the wrong tweet. Hold on. This is the one. I didn't stream the Sonic Central thing, and I probably made the right decision because there wasn't a lot there. But when I saw the Sonic Colors gameplay and I looked at it closely, I was like, why is it that like it looked like everything was either much darker or much brighter? Like they just bumped the contrast way up and it looked really off, and everything had like, they really went overboard with the bloom. Like, it looked like a late PS2 Xbox or like an early like Xbox 360 thing when it's like, look at all the effects we've got, and they crammed them in there and it's overkill. Like, a lot of like early like 360 era stuff was like it was all brown, and then they had like, look at the lens flare and the like the glow, the bloom, and everything's blooming everywhere, and like a fucking... Like, there's like those Unreal Engine demos where people just swap in a character where they don't fit, and they're like, Nintendo, hire this man, in the comments. Like, that sort of memey shit. That's what Sonic Colors looked like. Well, that version of Sonic Colors. That's what Remastered looked like to me when they first announced it. And I saw people talking about it on Twitter and being like, well, maybe it's just, like, someone said apparently it's like an older version of it. And I talked about this on another stream, but there was weird stuff with the footage for like the collection of the other of the Mega Drive games already, where they like didn't use remastered footage for 3 Knuckles, but maybe it's getting a remaster anyway based on Twitter and stuff from someone that works at Sega. And that was a weird thing. So people on Twitter were also saying, well, Sonic Colors Ultimate looks weird. I mean, it looks like that because it's an older build of it, and the version that actually gets shipped will be touched up, and it won't, a lot of the visual effects won't look as garish. And then they showed it off again at Freedom Games. This thing comes out, and it's doing the thing again because the name of the window title's different. It's the same executable OBS. It's the same browser, it's the same window, it's the same executable. You're supposed to fall back on that if the window title's different. And you don't, and I've just got to... And then it's weird, it shows up in the preview and not in the stream. Anyway. That should fix that. I haven't been showing Twitter stuff because, like, on stream like I did last time, because Twitter like changed the design of the site so that it would show a bunch of like recommended posts below it. If I just wanted to highlight one tweet, it means I would have to worry about other tweets being in view, and that could be like anything. And like, and it's totally, it could be something totally irrelevant. It could be something not safe for work. Like, who knows, you know? But like, look at this. I don't know, click on these images here. Oh no, it's showing. Oh no, this is. I can show this one because it's a long thread of screenshots, so I know what's already going to be there. So it's like it's not going to be something that inappropriate or something. But like, Sonic looks like he's made of plasticine or something here. Like, he looks normal enough here, and here is like he's glowing or something, right? Like, it looks really out of place. Like, there's a bright light shining on him, but there's no light there to shine on him. And it looks quite strange. But that's not that bad. And some of these shots look nice. Some of them look better, even. Like, some of these Planet Wisp ones looks okay. Like, the resolution's high. You can see, like, the textures are a bit of quality, and, like, the high resolution. The game's called Sonic Colors, so it's meant to be a colorful game. And they made the shadows so much darker. In like, this shot's not as bad as some other parts of the game, but parts where you like there's shadow all over the place because you're like going underneath something. Like, the whole game looks so much darker and so much duller in the newer version in some of these shots. But then this one was surprising to me because, like, this one has, like, it gets darker as you go into a tunnel. That makes sense. Like, you can see the tunnel in front of you heading into it as, like, dark and closed off and a little claustrophobic in some ways. And like, it gets darker as you go into a more enclosed space, and that makes sense, and it looks alright. And then they cut to here, and everything is just, it's just all these glowy shit everywhere. There's all these like shiny bits of like wetness on the rock, and then like the rail is glowing now, and like the darkness of it, of what's slowly getting darker as you go into a cave, is just gone. So and it looks, almost looks like the water is, quote unquote, water, sludge, whatever it is glowing by comparison. It looks like it doesn't belong at all. It's really strange. But that's just, you know, one very specific part of the game. That's not like, not indicative of the whole game. But then you get back to stuff like what they should, that's like from the level they showed off in the first thing, in the Sonic Central. So there's the Wii game. And here's the new one. Sonic's glowing even more than before, and everything around him is so dull. And they've added in Tropical Resort, the first level of the game, they added all these lights, made everything is either really, really dark and dull and you can barely see it, or the lights are really bright. Or there's even more lights where there weren't lights before. Like, this isn't a light. You can't see where my mouse is, but a little star thing under the E and welcome, that's not a light. That's just like a graphic, like a shape that's on the arch. And then they turn it into a light. And I get the idea that, you know, we're on a system that can do more lights now, and the whole idea is that it's a carnival, it's lit up, it's in space, there's stars, they're all lit up. You want them to glow, you want that glowiness to really pop, so you darken everything else a little bit, but they've darkened everything else way too much. And so it just looks like everything is either dull and barely visible, or it's glowing like someone's shining a flashlight directly in your eyes, and it's really jarring, and it's really Unreal Engine demo, Nintendo hire this man kind of shit, which is sad. Because there are other parts of the upgrade that actually look really nice. Like, most of the textures, they look really similar to the original textures, except so much clearer. The texture upgrades are pretty much perfect. But then the lighting is totally botched. At least, especially in that first level. Some other levels is not as bad. There's a screenshot somewhere in this thread, I think. Or maybe it's not this thread. Hold on. But there's a screenshot this other thread here where they go into some of the more details here, like the bump mapping and stuff like that. That's a nice improvement. This stuff isn't lit properly. Like the grass here is really bright, but you know, that's a little thing. That's something that could change in development. This thing is meant to come out in like, was it 4 months? 5? Like June, July, August, September. No, 3. This thing's meant to come out in like 3. I don't remember the date, but it's in September, so that's roughly 3 months. And like, you think, oh, that's plenty of time to fix a couple of little issues here and there, like the grass. Thing is, with games, like this is going to be a physical game. It's going to be put on a disc and it's going to be shipped, which means it's going to be done like probably a couple months before it comes out, because they've got to spend the time to actually print out those physical versions and to make all the other like little bonus things, like there's like a pre-order bonuses and stuff like that. Yeah, they could fix more things via software updates and you'd get day one patches. But the game's going to go gold sooner than it sounds. Like, they've got less time than you think. And then this thread goes on to explain how, like, the lighting works in the Hedgehog engine, which is what Colors use, and what Unleashed, the HD version of Unleashed uses. But then, like, because Colors is a Wii game instead of, like, a 360 game, 360 PS3, then a lot of those effects don't work, and they explain how they work a little bit differently. But then the Colors Ultimate team, they seem to have added new effects, but then not properly compensated for the old ones. They've like removed some of the old effects or not adjusted them properly. So then some things in some ways look better in the remaster, in other ways look better in the original in weird ways. Like here you can see Sonic's tinted green to fit the environment around him. And then you go to the remaster and Sonic's bright blue and doesn't fit this environment at all. And also the whole environment again is darker. So then they can make these little specific spots pop and glow. It's kind of excessive. But you know what? I've got the original game. Like, it just doesn't bother me that much if this doesn't end up being a good remaster, because I can just play the version of the game that I already have. Like, I'm fine with that. I'm not even really in a hurry to play that again. I already 100%ed it. Not that that's not a reason to play it again, but it's not like I'm going to do a full playthrough. Like, I'm not in a hurry to, I guess, because there's so many new games to play. And then here, speaking of those stars, there was one in that other cutscene. Here's a whole ton of them, all lined up. All this glowy shit is so bright, but it makes too much of the level so dull. And I was really hoping that, oh, well, it's probably just an early version. They'll fix it. And then they show another trailer and more screenshots, and it doesn't look better. Some of the different levels look better, but the style that they're going for here doesn't work. This is what the game should look like, though. This one, because this is like daytime, more or less, like sunset, sunrise, something like that. So they're not trying to do the whole it's in space, make like the stars and the lights glow more thing, which means they just do a more regularized remaster. Like the original is so much more low poly and blurry and flat, and this remaster is beautiful by comparison. That's such a big improvement. But then you get to the last zone in the game and the first zone in the game, and probably some other ones, where there's more glowy stuff and it's more spacey, and it looks so much worse. Like, yeah, the original maybe looks a bit flatter, but it's colorful. And the glowy effect isn't so excessive, especially on Sonic himself. That's where it looks the worst. Not so much in that screenshot, but that's where it looks the worst. So the Sonic Colors remaster, not looking great, and that's a shame. But it looks like it plays fine. Like, it's still Sonic. It's still Sonic Colors. So, like, if you never played Sonic Colors, or you just want a new version, you don't want to play it on the Wii, maybe you want to mess around with mods, because the Sonic modding community is pretty damn active, then yeah, sure, buy it. By all means. Except, well, I just remembered on PC you have to buy it through Epic, so, you know, that's another problem. But It's still Sonic Colors. Gameplay-wise, it doesn't seem like it's all that different at all, except for the extra lives thing where Tails saves you. Maybe you can turn that off. Hopefully you can, but there's no harm. If you can, there's no harm in it being there, you know? It helps the people that need it. And, you know, that's a bit of a downer. But there is some more positive news to talk about as well.
Let's get scratching.
And I'm really happy that I ended up being so happy with Nintendo's presentation, as well as some of these smaller announcements that aren't in the larger things that I didn't stream. Because a lot of the stuff talked about in like limited runs thing, or like the Freedom Games thing, or the Wholesome Direct, there's not a lot for me to say about a lot of them. It's like, yeah, that's a video game, and there's so many video games, and it takes it something really special to stand out at that point. When you're like, here's 10, 20, 30 bloody video games for you to look at, and some of them are really samey and don't have that original twist to them. Like a lot of it's just me sitting there being like, that game looks like a game, you know. And like even more so than the AAA stuff, where I was pretty quiet for like Ubisoft and Xbox and stuff. But I wasn't expecting to be, because I was expecting them to talk about other stuff more that I was excited for, and that didn't happen. But with indie stuff and the other stuff, I don't know what to expect, so it's like streaming it feels like more of a gamble. But then there are just some of those announcements in there. Some of those, or even just trailers for games that are already out that I just didn't know about, or ports for games that I didn't know about the original version. There's some exciting stuff in there, in some of these other ones. For example, I'm going to go look up one of these other direct things. The next thing I wanted to talk about is limited run games. Now, last time, usually limited runs things they're not great, because they're usually just like, well, limited run games, the thing that they do is that they take games that are already out digitally and like, here's a physical version and here's like a collector's edition of these games that wouldn't otherwise get them. Which is really good that they do that. I think that's good work. I think more games need to be physical. I can't really buy anything from them because the postage cost to Australia, on top of how expensive it is, and you know how limited they are, for obviously, like that makes things difficult for me. It makes it harder for me to justify it. Just the postage to bring it over here is like the price of a game half the time, and it's for games that might already be out. So like the games that I would most want a physical version of from limited run, the games I already have on Steam. And like as much as I want a physical version of it, I would have preferred that to be in a position where I just buy the physical version the first time I buy the game, instead of buying it digitally and then being like, oh, okay, well now there's a limited physical version, so let me get that, which means I'm basically paying for the game twice, plus a little extra because the limited physical release costs a bit more than the original digital release did. Plus on top of that, I've got to pay a stupid amount of postage to Australia, and it just ends up not being worth it. But they do some good stuff with a limited run. Or at least they did. Because, well, they still do a little bit, but I've noticed more and more from what I've seen from them is companies and games and franchises that are already really big, and it seems like they've just become a regular ass publishing house, except they have collector's edition stuff. They do re-releases of like retro games, except on a new platform. Like Zombies Ate My Neighbors, they're doing like a physical collection for that on the Switch. That game was originally released physically only on like Mega Drive and SNES. So it seemed like, yeah, the Switch version is going to be more available, but also these old games are expensive, but once you factor in all these other elements I was just talking about, the new versions physically are still also expensive. So at that point, I'd rather have them on the original hardware. And I would rather see this stuff... I'd rather see them put their resources towards giving games physical versions that would never get them in any form. Even if I don't get a chance to get a physical version, just knowing that that small indie game that's an indie darling that I really love has a physical version out there somewhere is like, good. It's not all digital. It doesn't just disappear forever when the storefronts go offline. There's like a Switch card or a disc for PS4 or Xbox or whatever. In the past, I've done Wii U and Vita. Like that, it's good that that stuff is available in some form out there somewhere in the ether for those games. As long as they don't just like disappear it means they won't just disappear forever if they go offline or something. And to the people who actually live in America who don't have to pay those postage costs or who otherwise can afford it, they get these cool physical collector's editions of things. So, you know, of games that would be lucky to get that are lucky to get any kind of physical release, which is great. That's great when they're like, here's a PS2 game, but it's ported to PS4, so it's just a PS4 disc. Or like I think one of the Star Wars games they did was actually like it was on the PS4. Like it's a PS2 game, but it's on PS4, but it's not actually a port or a remaster or anything. It's just emulated. So it's literally just a ROM and an emulator for PS2 on PS4 on a disc. But when you could probably just get a actual PS2 games are pretty cheap. You could probably get that game for like $20, $10 if you know where to look. And then like here it is for like $50 for the Switch, and it's not a new version of it. It's just an emulator, and also if you live in Australia, you got all this postage costs and shit on top of that. So that sort of stuff kind of sucks. But when they're doing like indie games and stuff, like they did more of when they first started, that's good work, and I respect that a lot. So going into, but the conferences, they usually try to be really funny with doing this whole like fake stage show thing with this really bad CG, which I assume the joke is meant to be bad, and like the comedy's kind of hit and miss, but it's kind of funny. And then this time they got fucking Mega 64. And like I'm not just gonna, just like the Devolver stuff, it's just watching someone else's skit and laughing, so that's why I wouldn't want to watch a lot of that stuff on stream anyway. Also, I just realized there's a blank screen on the stream right now again. Fix that again. I've got to figure out a better way of doing this. Like, this was really funny this year. Way funnier than limited run things have ever been. Like, not quite like the scale or the insanity of Devolver Digital, but like similarly funny. I'm just trying to fix the layout here. There you go, that did it. I was hoping there'd be like timestamps down here. Like some of these have the chapter marks or whatever, some of them don't. The limited run one doesn't, so that's sad, and that's from limited run. Maybe one of the unofficial uploads doesn't have that stuff, but I like to like watch videos on the original channel with trailers and stuff. Movie trailers are so much worse for that. And just let that be one upload of it. You don't need like a million channels re-uploading the same trailer and then getting millions of views and making a ton of money off of somebody else's movie trailer. It's really strange. Like, it's not a reaction or anything, just like re-uploading something that the company that owns it already uploaded it. So like, why bother other than just trying to leech off of their views? Not that I'm trying to defend a corporation, it just, I don't know, it's kind of, I'll prefer to use the original versions of things, generally speaking, I guess. So limited run, since they do physical versions of stuff, most of the stuff they announced was stuff that it's already out in some form. Like, I'm pretty sure this, like, collection of Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Ghoul Patrol, I'm pretty sure that's already out on Switch, and probably something else too. Even though it's just an emulator collection thing, I'm pretty sure. So really all this was announcing is that they're doing a big expensive, they're doing like a physical version of it. But then some of these things actually did have new announcements, which is not normally what you'd expect from Limited Run. Most of them weren't actually new announcements. And most of the ones that were actually just announcements of a port of a game that's already out. So like, Super Hot's coming to Switch. Okay, cool. Already played it on Steam. But, you know, it's cool that it's on Switch. And they show with the moving Switch graphic here, it's going to have gyro, which like every shooter should have. I already played it with gyro on PC with the Steam controller. This shit needs to be standard in every shooter on every platform. Microsoft needs to get their shit together and put gyroscopes in their controllers. And developers for PlayStation need to get their shit together and actually bother to implement this stuff into the PlayStation versions. So if you want to play on anything that's not PC, you don't have to choose between worse graphics on the Switch or worse controls on PlayStation and Xbox. Or no physical version on PC. More emulator collections getting physical versions. I haven't played River City Girls, but I don't know how much of... I think this is actually an old game. Like a new name they've come up for it. But like an old game that never got released in the West. It's getting a re-release here, so that's cool. And there's a very Doom looking thing here that I've never heard of, but that looks cool. I like Doom. Shantae is getting ports to a bunch of stuff. That Blood Rain game that I never played, like the 2D Blood Rain, that's like a Xbox Live Arcade thing, I think. Is getting brought back. So that's actually an announcement. It's not a new game, but you know, it's an announcement for a new version of a game. And that's the sort of thing that you wouldn't normally see from them. Bunch of Skatebird stuff. That game looks adorable. So, I'll probably pick this up. Even though I suck at Tony Hawk games. The developer of this has talked a bit about how they want to make a game that's more accessible to people who are new to this genre. I'm not totally new to it. But like the game finally has a release date for digital. And it looks like it's maybe going to be something that could get me into Tony Hawk stuff. I've always wanted to get into Tony Hawk, but it just never quite happened as much as I've tried. Just, I guess, a bit of a learning curve there and things like that. Then some of the accessibility changes that are going to be in Skatebird, I would intentionally leave off, because there are some things like using Y to grind instead of just pressing A to ollie and then A again to grind. Like, I'd rather press Y, because like I grew up playing like the first couple levels of Dave Mirra 2 over and over again on the GameCube. Like, and I've played enough Tony Hawk, I'm still used to that. More Axiom Verge 2, which showed up on another thing, which looks decidedly less Metroid. I haven't played Axiom Verge 1, but I really want to. And this, I appreciate, it looks very, very different. I appreciate it going for its own style instead of just being like... Because the last game was really blatantly trying to just be like... trying to look like Super Metroid. And this is trying to have its own identity. So I respect that. This game totally took me by surprise. This music? Holy shit, this fucking Initial D shit? Eurobait shit? This is the best. And I never heard of this game before, and just suddenly these like synths just blasted in my ears. I'm like, whoa, holy shit, this is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. And apparently this is a game that came out a while ago. It's just not one that I heard of or that I played, because apparently it came out like right next to two other like revival like beat 'em ups. It came out right next to Streets of Rage 4, which is amazing, which I have played, and River City Girls. So this original IP with the art style that's kind of hit and miss for some people because of the like pre-rendered look. Like, I like it, but I can get why some wouldn't. Like, it totally got overshadowed by these other two games. And I can understand why, because apparently one of those games is amazing. And I can say from experience that the other one is amazing. Like, Streets of Rage 4 is probably the best beat 'em up I've ever played, honestly. As someone who's relatively casual to the genre, but just really likes Streets of Rage. Anyway. And I like how this has a lot of different, like, modes, like this. Like, carb. Like, this driving mode looks really cool. More 3D, like, actually 3D than I would have expected. They showed off some Dusk, which is a game that's been out for a while that I really want to play because I love Doom and I love Quake. But I haven't played a lot of the like Doom likes and Quake likes that people have made, like Dusk and Prometheus and that sort of stuff. Like Strafe. I haven't played any of the indie like id likes, but I've played plenty of the actual id games. And there's still more indie games for me to play. I haven't finished Doom 64 yet. Or the DLC for Returnal. I'm spending more time talking about what I haven't played than what I have. But that's how it goes. There's too many games. This, I've never heard of this before. It looks cute. My throat's getting really sore, so I'm just trying to skip through stuff and not dwell on it for too long. I heard about this one. It looks really cute. Something about Eden. Very Mega Man Battle Network like, which I don't know much about, so you know, I'll probably play those first. Then the two big announcements that I was really shocked by, that I'm not probably, one of them I'm not going to buy. I'll get to why in a sec, but I think it's extremely fucking cool. The other one, maybe I will. They're doing an actual, like, TurboGrafx 16 CD release of Rondo of Blood. Fucking Castlevania Rondo of Blood is like one of the most like highly regarded like games from Japan that never got a Western release. In this franchise that's really well known in the West. Like probably not on levels of like Mother 3, but it's like, well, it did get releases in the West eventually, but never for like the original hardware. Like you can play the fan translation of Mother 3, you know, you can play the you can play Rondo of Blood on like Wii Virtual Console, and there's like a PSP version and some other versions as well. But like there aren't like official English versions of some of these games on the original platforms. Like Star Fox 2, it came out on like an emulated version, but it's not like Nintendo officially released a SNES cartridge in like within the past few years. For a game that was cancelled, that was meant to come out for a system that was like 25, 30 years ago. But they're doing it. And with an obscure, much more obscure system like the TurboGrafx CD. That fucking blew me away. That's almost like, not quite the same, but it's similar to like if Nintendo like not only did a release of Mother 3 today, but was also like, oh yeah, we're printing an actual Game Boy Advance cartridge for Mother 3 in English. Like today. Like that would be really weird. Except in some ways this is less crazy because it's already gotten digital Western releases. In other ways it's more crazy because who the fuck owns a TurboGrafx CD? Like, people who are into retro stuff, obviously. I'm into retro stuff. I've got every old like Nintendo system except for a Virtual Boy. I've got most of the Sega stuff. You know, I've got an Atari, I've got a ColecoVision. I'm into this stuff. But there's a lot of these systems that are way more obscure in the West that I don't have. I don't have a 3DO, I don't have a CDI, I don't have a TurboGrafx, I don't have like Atari Jaguar, like anything Atari that's not like 2600 or like a flashback thing. So I feel like even among like collectors of old consoles, not just TurboGrafx 16, but the CD add-on for it, the TurboGrafx CD, that is such a tiny portion of people who have that, who have a functional one of those that they still play games on in 2021 in like outside of Japan. Because I think in Japan, like the TurboGrafx or the PC Engine did like better than the Mega Drive, which is kind of insane. Now they didn't anywhere else, that's for sure. I think here's an English version of this game for like the fucking 2 people in America who have a functioning TurboGrafx CD setup. You can finally play this game that's like the most famous game on the platform, despite not even having come out here. On the hardware it was originally made for, officially, not via like a ROM, like not a reproduction card or a flash card or anything like that. That was really fucking cool. And then this shit happened.
Yell or something. It's still too quiet.
Plumbers don't wear ties.
What the actual fuck? What the actual fuck? Like, I was just messing around with 3DO emulation like, I don't know, like a month ago, and I played this game for like 2 minutes, and I was like rewatching the AVGN video of it and everything, and then like next E3 they're like, hey, we're bringing Plumbers Don't Wear Ties back. We're bringing one of the most famously terrible video games ever made back, doing a new version for like PC and new consoles and all that. Like Night Trap and stuff like that I get, because it's actually full motion video, and that has more of a cult following and like has parts of it that are bad and parts of it that are good. So there's like, and it's like this really interesting footnote in the history of video games in general, because, but like Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, it's like a fucking PowerPoint presentation. Like, and it's on the 3DO, and it's this really weird, low budget, awful thing that's mostly well known because of an old AVGN video. This is the last thing I would ever expect to get any kind of re-release anywhere ever. And after that last announcement, I was almost expecting them to be like, we're re-releasing it on the 3DO again, we're doing a new printing, or something like that. Which, they didn't announce anything like that. But they're bringing back Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. That is the coolest shit. Like that game, because it's the worst thing in the world, it's the coolest thing in the world, because I have a problem. Oh god, my throat hurts. I've been talking too much, hold on. I could stop doing this transition, and then I'll stop having a problem with OBS, like, not showing the browser window properly, but I'll do it anyway, just to be safe. I'll take an extra couple seconds to mess around with it, it's fine. Well, I could just keep that tab there. And then maybe the title will be the same, and then I could... Okay, sorry, I'm just thinking out loud.
Let's get scratching.
I guess the other thing, one of the other things I want to talk about was the Halo multiplayer thing. I won't bother bringing up the video for it because there wasn't that much more I want to say about it. Other than what I've already said about it on and they showed more of the single player stuff on like the Xbox thing. But this other video about Halo Infinite goes into a bit more detail about the multiplayer, and watching that and thinking about it more, I think they're totally gonna nail that multiplayer. They really made it a point to be like, yeah, we're going back to basics, but also we're introducing something new that's not too like un-Halo like. They're really, like, I was talking about how like it looks like they were doing that with the campaign, and you know, they brought back someone from Bungie who worked on the original Halo games to show up on stage for this other little multiplayer presentation thing. They brought him back out again. It was Joseph Staten, something like that. So there are new things like the grapple hook, which seems really cool. Hopefully it changes the game enough but not too much, because I still want Halo to be Halo and not like Titanfall. But like, it looks like in pretty much every other way they're like, you know, there's no iron sights, they've made it a point to be like, the upgrades you get a cosmetic, but you can't just straight up buy an upgrade because of the battle pass stuff, which means if you see someone with some really cool shit, you know they've earned it. And you know, you're not getting like Call of Duty perks and shit like that. And yeah, they do have this thing where they have like a drop ship, like dropping new like weapons and ammo and vehicles and stuff. But that seems to be less like the weird like whatever it was called, provisions or something system in Halo 4. It seems more like they've just put a new spin on the typical respawn thing, that like, because all shooters do this, like they have an item you pick up. I mean, all of this shooters that have pickups in the map, almost all of them, well, like, you'll pick it up and then, you know, you'll walk off and do whatever and use it, and then it'll just appear and it'll respawn in that spot again, and then maybe you or someone else can get it again later. It looks like they're just trying to do an in-universe explanation for that. You know, instead of like here's an entirely new mechanic, it's just like, well, you can see the dropship coming in about to like drop the new weapons to make them respawn instead of them just appearing out of thin air. But that could also implement the gameplay because you could be from further away, see the ship coming in, know, okay, that item there is about to respawn because you've got this big vehicle in the sky that's like a big indicator of some items about to respawn there, and I imagine it'll cause a bunch of players to rush over to that spot to try and grab that item. So that could add like an interesting new layer to the game to make it a little different. In a way that's interesting but you know, subtle. And I do also really like the new designs for the Spartans. I look the multiplayer like armor, it looks more like an actual Spartan. It kind of didn't look very Halo-like in 4 and 5. It sure does now. So that's really cool. And they've got like more of a HUD thing, like a hub world thing and a training mode thing as well, which is good for new players or for people like me who just suck at multiplayer in Halo, who are too used to like fighting the Covenant and not fighting actual people who you know, play in a very different way, obviously, and have a different skill set to those enemies in the campaign. They bring back bots. Like, bots is something you almost never see in shooters nowadays. It's like, why do you need bots when it's so easy to just go online and play with an actual person? Like, you don't need to set up like a LAN party or something to do that. But bots are still good. They're less necessary, but they're still good to have, and I'm happy they're here. And it's good that you can get in a bit of practice before you jump in with actual people. Now I'm gonna go look up the Wholesome Direct and just skim through it and see if there's anything else in that I wanted to talk about, and the Guerrilla Collective stuff probably as well. Actually, maybe not, because there wasn't a lot. There wasn't very many games in those that I wanted to watch. I mean, talk about. Still got the problem. Let's try transitioning to that. Well, the title's the same as it was before, but no, that doesn't work. Okay, never mind. Not you. I think maybe I should keep capture cursor on, because I keep pointing at things with my mouse on the screen, and then I'm like, all right, people can't see that. So let me try transitioning now. There we go. Okay, Bird Problems was the first game they showed at the Wholesome Direct, and this one kind of stood out to me. Like, the art style was really cute, and like I like the whole like parody of like silly sitcom shit. And how stages and with like the laugh track and everything, like kind of had this ironic, like, you know, what's the deal with airplane food, like making fun of stuff like that. But I don't know what the game is. Like, I don't know what it plays like at all, but it looks really cute. So I wanted to give that a quick mention anyway. I added a bunch of these to Steam wishlist, so I'll just go over the ones that I added. Ooblets is a game that I was eyeing before like the early version of it came out. So this is just talking about updates for it. And it ended up, I was looking forward to that, but then it ended up not being great. But it's probably better now. Like, they're probably improving it, you know? It's like early access. They're still working on it. Skatebird showed up, but here they only talked about like the accessibility stuff.
Gameplay.
The character designs in this look adorable. Here comes Nico. There's not a lot to the game, but that's fine, you know?
Is the cozy 3D platform.
It's not like there's immediately like a gameplay mechanic that immediately stands out. It's like, oh, that's really interesting. But that artwork is just too fucking adorable. So maybe I'm a hypocrite talking about so many of these other games and being like, you know, what's the unique, how does it play? What's unique about it in that sense? Whilst maybe it's just because like certain games don't appeal to me artistically and then some do. So like if it appeals to me artistically, then I'm less bothered by it being less unique. Maybe? I don't know. But look at these guys. They're so cute. I feel bad kind of skipping over these games, and you can see which ones I'm skipping over. A lot of these games look neat. But I just wanted to talk about a couple highlights. Garden Story is one that I've seen pop up a bunch that looks really cute. I'm still not entirely sure what the game is. It looks like a kind of RPG / Harvest Moon or something. It looks pretty... I was like half watching this, half looking at Twitter, skimming through stuff, you know, but this one looks really cute. And this one, like, they showed something from this off at the Game Awards, and that's the only reason why I know what it is. Because I watched the beginning of it, and like I don't know what it is, but it looks cool. And then I saw the shot of like the band, and then I was like, I can't get to a shot of it. I was like, oh yeah, I remember they had this weird virtual concert at like the Game Awards. It was just a music video of a band who are going to be in a game. It's like, okay, what's the game? Like, what's the game like? You know? It's the Game Awards. I'm not there for concerts. I'm there for video game shit. But of course, they've got more concerts than actual games and actual awards. Because that's... like, I expect that from them by now. The Game Awards aren't great. And I remember seeing the Black Trans Lives Matter shirt and being like, well, yes, absolutely, Black Trans Lives Matter. At the same time, my first, like... anyone's first exposure to this is... here's a band, here's a song. Also, they have this really... hard to explain. It felt very on the nose, you know? Like, there's a lot of the time, sometimes I'll see political views in fiction, in media. I'll be like, yes, absolutely, I agree with that message. Doesn't mean you couldn't have spread that message in a slightly better way. This is just like a t-shirt, so like it's not that big of a deal. But that's really the only thing I really remembered about it from the Game Awards. And now that I can see what the actual game is and see everything in context, I'm like, hey, that looks really nice. You know? There's like a little narrative, like Telltale-like thing about a band, and it looks really pretty. But when literally your only exposure to it is like this big bold text of like, these are my political views. Like, politics should absolutely be in games. I'm not one of those types of people who's against that shit or something. I'm just like, I would rather see them show how they believe Black Trans Lives Matter in the story than just see a t-shirt with it in big capital letters and that's it, out of context. But you know, that game looks really cool. And yeah, Black Lives Matter, Trans Lives Matter, all that shit, obviously. Talking about this, but you know, this is just a t-shirt. There's one example that I think of that's much worse, where politically, I 1000% agree with it. Storytelling-wise, I'm like, this is way too on the nose. Like, maybe try to be a little subtle or a bit clever about it. It's like that one Doctor Who episode. It's like one of the Jodie Whittaker ones, where they're on a planet and it's like it's desert. It's all destroyed and stuff. And then at the end, they're like, surprise, it was Earth all along, like fucking Planet of the Apes, which is apparently something they just reused from an old Classic Who episode anyway. But I haven't seen much Classic Who. And that's something that's where I'm like, yes, absolutely, this is an important message. I agree with this. Also, could you maybe write it better? Could you make a good episode that also pushes this message, please, in a more clever way? instead of banging you over the head with it like, did you know that the planet's dying? Like, yes, I do. I'm a millennial. I've spent most of my life growing up in an environment knowing that the planet's going to turn to shit at some point in my lifetime. Like, they're talking to me like they're trying to drill it into my head like I'm an old man who's like some conservative or something who needs to get it through their skull. Like, no. Like, I know this shit. Let's maybe try to be a bit... Let's try to write it into the story naturally instead of just being, hey, global warming's bad and it's global warming and it's bad, and like in big, bright, flashing letters, practically. You know? But yeah, global warming's bad and it's a real problem. Kiwi is a game that looks adorable. I have no one to play with. That's going to be a running theme for a lot of these games, especially some of these indie things. There's a lot of like couch co-op indie games and stuff like that where I'm like, yeah, that looks like fun. Too bad I don't really have the ability to play that. And then there are a lot of games that just look like that, just where I'm just like, that looks like an indie version of this series that's already know about, that's already popular. What's the twist, you know? Like, okay, this is basically like, this is a lot like The Sims. Okay, I'm into that. I really like The Sims, or at least the first one. I haven't played as much of the later ones, but I really like the original The Sims. What makes this different from The Sims? Like, okay, we see you can like adjust the size of furniture and make some more specific tweaks that you wouldn't be able to in The Sims. But other than that, just like, you build a home and you have some people and they live in it. Yeah, that's The Sims. Okay, but what's the new thing? What's the twist? What makes it different? Why should I play this instead of The Sims if I've already played The Sims? And it doesn't give you anything, you know? It's just like, hey, look at this pretty house we made. Look at all these cool tools you can make to make houses. That's really cool. I can do that in this game I have from like 1999 I can still go working on my modern machine. That's already fantastic. What's the thing that makes this game different from that and gives it its own appeal? And I don't say that out of criticism to be cynical. I said it because I want to know. You know, I see stuff like that. I see that looks like fun in a way this other game's fun. But how is it also fun in a way that other game isn't? You know, where's the twist? It's like The Sims, but it's also like this, or it's like The Sims, but it's got this unique aspect to it. It's going to draw you in. And there's been a few indie games that I've seen at E3 that are like that. Like the Wholesome Direct, I don't think had the Pokemon one. I think that was like the Freedom Direct or something like that, or Future, something like that. A lot of these look nice and have really pretty art styles. But yeah, the other Direct had one that was like, it's literally just Pokemon. Okay, sure, it looks beautiful. It looks like fun in the way that Pokemon's fun. What's different about it? What's unique? Why would I play... Like, I played all the Pokemon games, why would I play that instead? Well, I haven't. But even if I had, why would I play this new game instead of playing more Pokemon or something? And then just like, hey, you like Pokemon? Here's another Pokemon game, except it's not Pokemon. It's not called it, but it is. And they did the same thing with Fire Emblem, with one of the other games on one of those directs. I'm like, okay, cool. Fire Emblem's cool. I like Fire Emblem. What makes this different from Fire Emblem, though? I see how it's the same. How's it also different at the same time? Yeah, it's just Fire Emblem. Like, okay, well, I haven't finished, like, I finished Awakening. I haven't finished the two after it yet. Like, the fan translation of If/Fates. I haven't finished that. I haven't finished Three Houses yet. There's a whole bunch of older games that don't have all the same features as... But, you know, that I'd still like to play. What makes this other game different from those? It's just more Fire Emblem. The Gecko Gods. Oh, I forgot about this one. This one was really cute. Just cute little gecko wandering around and then solve puzzles, and then like I really like stories that are like you're like just this little like simple, or like you're a part of something way bigger than yourself, you know? It's hard to explain. It's like, I think I heard Hugo Martin talk about like Doom that way, whereas like Doom guy like is just this guy, you know? But he's in something so much, there's so much more than him. Like, he's a part of all this complicated, huge, like, lore and all this shit. But he's just like, I'm just a dude that wants to fuck demons up, so I'm gonna do that. You know? And I really like that. But also, like, this is obviously way, like, cuter and more wholesome than that. It's like this cute little gecko wandering around, but then there's this beautiful landscape and there's this mystery to it. And it makes me want to see, like, this tiny little wandering animal, like, accidentally just wander around being cute, not giving a shit about anything that's happening around it, and then just like awaken some ancient gods or some crazy shit, and it's just like, dude, I'm just a gecko. What the fuck are you talking about? You know? But that looks really promising. Passepartout, that's a game that, I mean, this is just a sequel to a game that I haven't played, but it was really cool. Like, I think it looked really cool, though I remember a lot of Let's Plays with it for the first one of these came out, when that was new. And, like, to see it get a sequel this much later is really surprising, but also really neat. And I had to, like, remind myself, it's like, is this that game that I think it is? Is this the one with, like, the artist in the shop and like, you build up your career? And, like, yeah, that's I looked it up again and it's like, yeah, that's the one. It's like, it's been so long and it's getting another one. That's happy for people that really liked that game originally, you know, that actually played it, that didn't just watch other people with less anxiety about their creativity and just watch them fuck around on YouTube. Like, there'll probably be a lot of people have a lot of fun with that, you know. It'll be fun to watch other people have fun with that. But, you know, maybe you'll play it one day, maybe I won't. I don't know. Paparazzi is a game that I wishlisted on Steam ages ago. So it was good to see more of that, and good to see that it's not just Pokemon Snap but with dogs. It's like you wander around yourself, and like it's got a little bit of its own thing happening, but also, you know, obviously by like my name and everything, I'm hopeless for dogs. So even if this was literally just Pokemon Snap but it's got dogs in it, I'd still be like all over it. Even though I'd be a hypocrite, probably. Though I suppose you could say that is the twist. Like, Pokemon Snap is like, well, Pokemon Snap's got multiple twists to it, right? It's like an on-rails shooter, but instead of shooting a gun, you shoot a camera. It's a photography game, but instead of whatever you take photos of in real life, like actual animals, it's Pokemon, and you can interact with the Pokemon to get really cool shots. It's like speed bird watching, but the birds can shoot fire out of their face or something, you know? And this is like, well, it's Pokemon Snap, but instead of the fire face birds or whatever, it's cute dogs. Like, that's kind of a twist, right? It's Pokemon Snap, but you can walk around and control the character yourself. It's Pokemon Snap, but with dogs. It's not a huge gameplay twist, but it's adorable, and it's to my personal taste, so like I'm all for it anyway. And it's enough. It's enough to set it apart. There's another game that I was going to talk about that was at a different thing called Toem. That's another photography game, and that's got something that sets it apart from the other games I know of that where photography is a big part of it. Like, it's different from this, it's different from Pokemon Snap, it's different from Beyond Good and Evil, but it still has elements of the photography stuff there. So it's like similar, but also different. And also, you know, it's got its own style, but I can also be like, hey, I like games like that, maybe I'll like this one too. But also, it's different enough that I feel like it's something that I would want to play, and that I wouldn't just be... That wouldn't just be like playing a game I've already played again. It wouldn't feel like that. There was one more game that was just thrown into this montage at the end that I was like, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to like a gameplay twist. It's hard to pinpoint the exact spot for it on the video player, and the thumbnail doesn't always match exactly where the mouse is. I think that's it. 2D and top D. Like, I love like reality bending, like fourth wall breaking type puzzle stuff. Like, I love like Portals like that a bit, and like there's this really neat little free indie game that's been around for some time called Perspective. It's very short, totally free, absolutely recommend it. Where it's like you're in first person, and then like you switch to 2D platformer mode and control a little 2D character running on like the walls. But then depending on like how close or how far you are away you are from the walls, like whether there's other things in 3D in the first person mode like obstructing the walls, that can like change the platforming landscape for the 2D character. And that's something I really love. The whole idea of that immediately grabbed me. Fez is another one. Is like I guess controversial as Phil Fish is, rightfully so. Then like the whole like it's a 2D game but you spin it around in 3D, and like that's really cool. And this is very, very much reminds me of Fez. It's a 2D platformer and then it turns into a top-down game where you make the platforms. Like it's going like switching between like a Mario like perspective and like a classic Zelda like perspective, you know? And the way that it like subtly shifts from like totally 2D to like kind of 3D-ish as it goes to the top-down perspective. Like I saw that transition and I was like, whoa, what just happened? What? Because, you know, it just looks like a regular 2D platformer and then transitions and goes kind of like 3D-ish, top-down-ish. I was like, whoa. Like, totally caught me off guard. I was like, that's fucking clever. That's really fucking cool. Yeah, there's lots of neat games in there that I won't talk about because I don't have as much to say about. Where's the Wholesome Direct has some really cool shit in it as well. But you know, I was just skimming through like a handful of the games I really wanted to talk about there. There's a lot there that I have absolutely nothing to say about. And it's like, yeah, that's a video game, that looks cool. I like platformers, that's a platformer. And that's it. Okay, what's the, you know, I like things that look pretty, that looks pretty. But then there's a few that like really stand out for their unique twist, or because there's just something about it that just appeals to me personally for some reason. So I wanted to talk about those a little bit. I've been going for 2 hours and 45 minutes almost. 2 hours 42. The Nintendo thing wasn't even 1 hour long. And I'm missing a bunch of like the treehouse stuff, but you know, fuck it, I'm having fun. I'm getting this stuff out there. It's nice to get these thoughts out of my head. Even if no one's watching, no one's listening. Like, whatever. It's better than them just welling around in my head and then I drive myself insane and walking around in circles in my house thinking about fucking video games. I can like make something kind of productive about it, and I can get it out of my system, and I can get practice for streaming for when I want to do other stuff, like actually playing games on stream and trying to do something a little bit more with it in the future. This is like a bit of, in some ways, it's practice for that. And I don't really have many people to talk to about video game stuff like this, where I can just info dump and where I can get something back. So just throwing it out into the ether like this, like just throwing it out in the internet, like here's me rambling on about some bullshit for fucking hours and hours. Like even if people don't watch it, like it's good to just be able to talk about stuff that I don't get a lot of opportunities to, I guess. And it's good to remind myself that I wasn't completely insane for picking usernames that have things like talky and rambling in them over the years. Because it's like, yeah, actually that is justified. Because so much of the time I'm really quiet. So it's nice like listening to myself now and I'm like, God, look at how much I can talk. I'm like impressing myself almost because how awkward and quiet I am in other parts of my life. Anyway, I'm gonna see if there's some other stuff I can look up, that I can talk about. Yeah, I think Freedom Games was the one that had Toem in it. I might be wrong.
I decided, you know what, I've dabbled in indie games. I'm gonna give this one last shot.
No, this is something else. I think.
And it's the first time that
Did I even watch this one? Maybe I didn't. Oh no, yeah. Freedom Games is the one that had like.
Let's get scratching.
This is the one that, of course, the transition's not working again. Yeah, this is the one that had like the Pokemon and the Fire Emblem game, so I was just like, they look great, but they also look the same as Pokemon and Fire Emblem. What makes them different? You know, I'm repeating myself, but. That still didn't work that time. This would work so much better if I just did a screen capture, but then you could see like other notifications and things that, like from Windows, and like that could potentially pop up. They could have like private stuff in it or something.
Favorites. And
so here's the one that's like Pokemon but not.
And give it a unique touch.
Like yeah, the art style looks beautiful.
They helped us translate the demo.
Looks like it's fun to play. There's not a lot in it that makes it look like Koromon. There's not really much about it that sets it apart from Pokemon, though. That's the problem. And then there wasn't as much. Oh yeah, right. This dog shelter game is really cute as well. It's really nice hearing the developers talk about like their own experiences with their actual dog, and how they're basing like this dog shelter sim around like they're talking about real like real illnesses that dogs can get and real diseases and things like that, to maybe educate people about that sort of stuff, whilst also having like an engaging like management sim at the same time. That was really cute and looks like a lot of fun as well. And yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in there that looks neat. There's the Fire Emblem, but not. I think that's yeah. And it's got like the beautiful like intelligence, like Game Boy Advance Fire Emblem like sprite art and stuff like that, and it's gorgeous animation. And then I don't know what really makes it different as a game. What makes it different from Fire Emblem? Maybe there was something else in the trailer that I missed. But it looks like Fire Emblem. Like, okay, I'll play Fire Emblem then, you know? So this one's a pretty short one. I think Freedom Games is a publisher, not one I've heard of before this. But they've got some neat stuff in there. In Future Games was another one, and that's the one that had more Sonic Colors stuff. I'm just gonna skim through this video before I switch over. See if there's even anything else there that I really wanted to, that really grabbed me as much as some of these other things. To talk about boxing game esports, which is not a kind of esports you hear much about. But, you know, I'm not an esports person at all, but I suppose if that's a more underrepresented esports scene, it's good for them to get some rep, I guess. There's another game that was in both of them that I kind of forgot about called Lake. Let me just fix this again. I'm gonna figure this shit out properly eventually. There we go. Where you like play as a postal worker, and you just kind of go around like talking to different people in the town. This is a very short snippet compared to I think the Wholesome Direct one had a longer one. But like I don't think I've heard of like a postal worker simulator before. And considering like politically like the In the US, this is something that I think being reminded of how important a good postal service that serves like the people rather than being a corporation that's trying to profit off of delivering stuff. I think highlighting stuff like that is really important, considering, you know, how much like the postal vote was fucked over by Republicans in, you know, in the last election, and how much they messed over the USPS and that sort of thing. So having this game, like, it's very clearly set in America. It's very much like, it's set in the 80s as well, which means I suppose they don't have to worry about maybe directly showing like the negative sides of how the postal service has changed. They can just be like, this is what the postal service was before it changed, and like, here it is in America. Here's how it's such a useful thing. Here's this person going around and connecting with all these other people. You can get, you know, get all these stories from them. I don't know what those stories will be like, really, but that's a really neat idea, at least, you know? There's a lot of really tiny snippets of things. There's Sonic Colors. Even though I'm like going past stuff here, it's not that I don't have things to say. I mean, it's not that they all look terrible or something. It's just I don't have a lot to say. Happy Game is one that really stood out to me because it looks really fucked up. Like, I like stuff that's like, at first I thought I was thinking like I was probably too on the nose, but like, just once I figured out what the idea of it was, but I like stuff that like seems really cute but then has something like much darker underneath it, or much more complicated or adult underneath it or something. And this seems like some kind of like a horror game that's just, it looks like it's really genuinely disturbing. Like this thing and the way that it's like luring people out with the toys and then swallows them up, it's like, oh god, that actually really freaked me out. And like a lot of the like announcers and like people talking over these kinds of direct things, like a lot of the time they like over enunciate or whatever. They're like, it feels like they're talking down to you, you know, like they don't feel like they're speaking like an actual person. But these ones, like, obviously there's acting in it, but like, it's not just like the sort of thing like I'm doing now, where I'm just rambling. But I like how in this one, though, actually, like the reactions to how messed up how messed up Happy Game is, seemed like actually like not too overstated, you know? Like it seemed like genuinely like decent acting and not like corporation trying to shove big product down your throat. Hey, look at this, aren't you excited for this thing? Sort of shit. Like, it's sounded like a normal reaction to a thing almost. And then I've only played a little bit of Ollie Ollie of the original because it came for free with my PS TV. It came with some download codes for a few games. And yeah, it seemed alright. So, but I think this one, Ollie Ollie World, might appeal to me a little bit more because it's got more of like a story mode to it, and I like the art style a lot as well. It's like Ollie Ollie RPG almost, like narrative Ollie Ollie, and it has got more of a connecting tissue. So it's more than just do a level, then do another level, do another level, do another level, you know? There's so many video games. Oh god. Look at all of them. Look at all these games. Well, there's good stuff. There's a lot of good shit in there that I'm not talking about either. Just too many games. My throat hurts. I think I need to stop. Oh. Okay, that's the thing I forgot. Before the Nintendo thing, I was going to change the GIFs on the BRB screen, but I completely forgot to. That's fine. That's future. What was the thing that had Toem on it? Oh, there's so many presentations and different things this year. It's not just like a handful of conferences by the big companies.
Let's get scratching.
I only briefly mentioned Devolver Digitals. I don't think there's much there I really need to talk about in terms of actual games. But yeah, they were brilliant as usual in terms of comedy. That was honestly one of the funnier ones. Like, because it was less of the like shock value and gratuitous violence and stuff, which worked well for those ones. But they realized like, yeah, that stuff's getting a bit old. So like, and like the same. Like, they really spice up the format a bit, and I was like, they kind of had a narrative going on across a lot of them. And the last one kind of ended that narrative. So I was like, well, where are they going to take it from here? And it ended up being a bit more, I don't know, there was less of a story to it, and it was more like a presentation to viewers, but it was like a different kind. It wasn't making fun of the big stage conferences as much, but it was making fun of like companies and all those like subscription services and a lot of other bullshit that's this trendy among corporations with this sort of thing nowadays. So yeah, that was really funny. I think I liked it more than the last few Devolver things they've done. I'm just skimming through it now to see if there were any games I really wanted to talk about, or if it was just like, if I had much to say about anyway. Or if it was just the presentation that I really liked. Oh, this is the one that had Wizard with a Gun. Which, if you're really into Don't Starve, you'll probably be excited for that. But at the same time, it also looks very different from Don't Starve, because it's much more of an action game than like a survival thing. Yeah, more of the Devolver one was like the skits they were doing and the website that they had for it, and then it was the actual games that they had to show, but they still have some cool stuff. Just nothing I really have anything to say about at the moment. Gearboxes was a mess. I haven't actually watched that one, but I've seen bits and pieces of it floating around Twitter, and it's just... Is it Cliff Bleszinski, or is it... Randy Pitchford, that's it. Cliff Bleszinski is Epic, I think, and then Randy Pitchford is Gearbox. I always get those two mixed up. They're kind of both scumbags. And I'm not a fan of Borderlands at all. But like that entire Gearbox presentation was pretty much them was just like the one guy walking around a movie set talking to random actors and celebrities, talking about how there's going to be a Borderlands movie, and there's like next to nothing there about actual video games. And then it didn't show any footage of the movie or anything. It's just these really awkward, uncomfortable conversations. I'm looking at the list of like events on the timetable. I haven't watched or heard about all of these. I have no idea what GameSpeed is. I didn't see that. Upload VR. I recognize that name, but I didn't see the thing that we're doing for E3 this year. I don't think the PC Gaming Show had much for me this year either. Let me skim through it real quick. I didn't. I definitely like skimmed through what I saw of the PC gaming show. I didn't actually watch all of it. They did a lot with like skits and stuff with this one, and the little bits of it I did see didn't. They seemed like they were trying way too hard to be funny. I think they did this last time as well. I think last year, even though there was no E3, they still did a PC gaming show. And it ended up not being. Oh, this is. Oh, I forgot about this one.
Let's get scratching.
Watch it be a black screen again. There it is. So this game looks really cool because, like, speaking of how, like, if there's other games that were really similar to other franchises, I was like, well, you know, where's the twist? Where's the? It's like Pokemon, but what? This one's like is like Pikmin, but, and then there's very much a twist to it that I really like. It's like Pikmin, but it's not a strategy game at all. It's like a puzzle platformer where you have the story is very similar to Pikmin. And you have all these little guys running around like Pikmin, but you're like exploring this like 3D world with like a fully like rotatable camera and everything, and you're using these guys to move stuff around to solve puzzles. So there's less about like resource management over like this top-down map, like a real-time strategy meets puzzle thing, like however you describe Pikmin. And it's more like a 3D platformer with like elements of Pikmin and other stuff kind of infused into it. Which is, I think, is really cool. It's really clever, and this game looks great. So that was the one game that really stood out to me, the PC gaming show. There was also this one that I saw briefly at another thing. It's like it's a city build. It's hard to find the right spot on this one, and they didn't show it for long here, but they showed it at a different direct, probably the one that had Tone, whatever that one was. But yeah, it's a city builder with like an old school one with like farming and stuff. And then you zoom out and you see actually you're just on the back of like this giant creature. Almost like kind of reminds me of Xenoblade 2. Like Xenoblade 2 meets like Sim City meets like Age of Empires or something. And you actually like can send like instructions to the creature to get it to start and stop and move, and there's like a strategy to that, but then it's all, since it's a wild animal, sometimes it doesn't listen to you. That's a really interesting idea as well. The Wandering Village. And what's the one that had bloody this and Toem and stuff on it? He showed Future, he showed Wholesome. Didn't I? I haven't seen Verizon thing or in television. In television's a weird one. I don't think I saw Take-Two's thing. Mythical Games. What's Indie Show? I don't even remember what most of this stuff is. I will mention the Capcom one real briefly, I think. I won't cut to it, I'll just talk about it. Because they showed like 4 games. Like the whole thing was just like 4 games. One of them was the Ace Attorney thing, which looked the Great Ace Attorney, which looks really good. You know, I already talked about that a bit before after the Nintendo one because they mentioned it there too. Monster Hunter stuff, which I already talked about on the Nintendo one. Resident Evil 8 Village is getting DLC, but they didn't actually have any like trailers for it or anything. They were just like, hey, remember that Resident Evil Village exists, and thank you for people that like it and that bought it, and also we'll make DLC for it, I guess. Because people are asking for it, apparently. So yeah, we're gonna, like with Resident Evil like 2 and Remake and some of these other ones, they've had like, and like 7, they've had like DLC set up pretty much from the beginning. Like that was a big plan from the beginning, and then Resident Evil 3 Remake got nothing. So but you know, that was a smaller game. In some ways that was like Resident Evil 2 Remake 0.5 or something. So like I can't understand that one not getting any DLC. So Village, the fact that they don't already have a ton of DLC lined up the fact that they didn't have a trailer for it or anything kind of surprises me, considering how completely like I haven't played any of the DLC for 7, and I've only played a little bit of the DLC for 2 Remake. Oh, the Resident Evil DLC isn't as appealing to me as the main game. So if they didn't announce any DLC for this, I would be surprised, but I wouldn't feel super bad about it, I guess. So the fact that it seems like people were expecting DLC to be there at this Capcom thing. So they were just like, they added a really quick little like bit of text at the end of them mentioning that, reminding people that 8 exists and is out, the village exists and is out. They added just a bit of like a wall of text just saying, oh yeah, well, due to fan demand, we're gonna make DLC, I guess. Okay. Like no trailers or anything, and that surprised me because yeah, how quick they were to be like, right out of the gate, here's a ton of DLC for 7, a ton of DLC for Remake 2, and then apparently they weren't planning on doing anything for Village at all until like the last minute. So they didn't have a trailer or anything. They just said, well, I guess apparently people want it, so yeah, we'll do it. Like they put that in the presentation at the last minute. And speaking of announcers and presenters being over the top, that one was the worst. The woman presenting that felt like so not genuine. Like she was so talking down to the audience. It was really difficult to listen to. The Great Ace Attorney stuff was cool. That is just a 3DS game, but like it's one that hasn't come out here yet, and it's one that a lot of people aren't going to be as likely to know as much about. So it's good that they focused on it a bit. They talked about, I was hoping that there'd be a new fighting game announcement or something. They just talked about esports for Street Fighter V for a while, and like that was fine. Like for an esports segment, that's fine. And I'm more interested in fighting game esports than like a lot of other kinds of esports, even though I'm not into esports much in general. But then they weren't announcing they were going to bring some of the old ones back. I would love if like Marvel vs. Capcom 2's like HD version from the PS3 and 360 got a re-release, because I never got the chance to buy that before they took it down. So a lot of the older Marvel vs. Capcoms in limbo, and like there's digital only HD versions that are gone, you can't get anymore, or there's like the original versions on actual arcade boards or console ports from retro systems. The Dreamcast's D-pad is not great. Like MVC2 is one of my favorite fighting games. The Dreamcast D-pad is rough, especially for fighting games. Like I push left, but I push like the bottom part of left a little bit, and it decides, oh, you're pressing down on left, even though my thumb's nowhere near down. It's like the lower part of left, so it thinks that's down left. Like that sort of shit's really annoying. So to have like a HD version that's a native port I can play on like on PC or newer consoles would be wonderful. But basically all we got there is, yes, Street Fighter V still exists, still got esports, it's still, we don't have any new announcements for characters for it or anything, but you know, it's still, Street Fighter V still there, and esports exists, and reporting a 3DS game that people really wanted, even though we already announced that. Here's like a wall of text about DLC that we just decided the last second to make. And then there's Monster Hunter stuff, which isn't my thing. And then that's it. So that's unfortunate. Like if you're into Monster Hunter and you're into Ace Attorney and you're into esports, then there's some good shit there about those just like 3 games. They went into enough detail about those 3 games. There's some good info that's good to see. Maybe Capcom didn't need their own entire presentation just for Capcom this year. So I think this is the first time I've ever seen them do that at all. That's why I was surprised to see their name there. And I was like, oh, they must have something really big planned if they're doing their own conference instead of just putting it in like the Xbox one or something. And no, they didn't have much at all. Like good stuff to announce and to put out there, but making your own like E3 presentation over it, there wasn't really enough there to warrant that, I don't think. Even if what was there was fine. Like, there was nothing awful about what they actually presented, it was just weirdly very minimal and not really warranting its own entire presentation. And then I didn't see Razor's thing. I don't know what that is. Ven, I don't know what that is. I could look into that stuff again now. I'm so fucking tired. I'm a little curious about the Intellivision thing. I have no idea what it is. I just saw the name Intellivision. I'm like, why is that there? Maybe they're doing like a new system, like a plug and play thing, or like the new Atari VCS, which is confusing because the VCS is what the original Atari console used to be called before they rebranded it as the 2600 to match like the 5200 and 7800 and the 8-bit computers with the smaller numbers. I forget, like 200, 400, something like that. So the new one's called the VCS, and the original one is also sometimes called the VCS or the Video Computer System, but it's better known as the 2600. So it's like, if people say Atari VCS nowadays, they're probably talking about the new thing that seems pretty minimal, honestly. I mean, and so many of these Atari brands have had such a hugely important, like, influence on like video game culture. They were video games. Like, before Nintendo, they were video games, and then the NES was video games for a while. Instead of saying, I'm playing a game, I'm playing a video game, they'd say, I'm playing Atari, you know? Then it was, I'm playing Nintendo. Like, Atari are pretty fucking important, and they don't really get talked about much anymore, and they don't really... Like, I know their games are really simple and really primitive, like, even compared to, like, NES or something. But, like, they're so hugely important to have so many hugely, like, iconic franchises. You'd think there'd be something more done with them, but they're in this, like, weird limbo of rights being handed around between different companies and all sorts of weird little products, like this kickstarted, like, console that thing that has barely anything to play on it. Weird. But Atari's I don't know about whatever Atari is now, if that deserves better, but like Atari's legacy deserves better than that. Instead of looking into all these other things that I haven't looked into yet, it's 5 AM. I've been streaming for over 3 hours. My throat's killing me. I did not intend to go for this long. But hey, I'm called TalkyPup for a reason. And like I said before, it's nice to remind myself of that. It's nice to know I'm still capable of this, and it's not just like Thinky Pup or something. It's not like turn my brain to mush up. Like I can get this shit out of my head and actually... I'm not doing a good job of it now though, because I talk too much. I'm all tired and the words don't come to me. So I'm gonna click the stop streaming button now on OBS. Thank you for the 0 people who are watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I did. So it's fine. That's the important part, I guess.